Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Osama Saeed from islamafterahmadiyya.com. Today's video is I'm titling it The Fall of Ahmadiyya. This is a response video made, it's a response to a video made by a person called Muhammad Amjdar. He made a video called Rise of Islam Ahmadiyya, my response to major allegations. Just let me start off first of all. I have absolutely nothing personal against Muhammad Amjdar, absolutely nothing personal against him. I just want to, hopefully give him a few pointers as well, because I've been through his video with, carefully watched his video to see, everything he says, and there are quite a few points that I'll be mentioning throughout this video. It's going to be quite a long video. Hopefully we're going to put some quotes in there, a lot of evidence obviously. And I'm going to start off with the first thing, which I'll say is that the speaker, Muhammad Amjdar, says that he claims he researched before accepting Ahmadiyya, which obviously everybody says that. I mean, even I claim to have researched. I researched whatever the people gave me, which was not Mirza's actual real hidden writings. They just gave me what they wanted. So he claims he researched before accepting Ahmadiyya. What sources did he research? Did he research Mirza Ghulam's books? Or did he just read the Murabbi's explanations of the so-called allegations? Because the missionaries, they give explanations. They're not explanations. They're just, they're just to shut you up. They're not really answers. You present them with some of Mirza's writings. You're not going to get an actual answer from them. They'll either duck and dive and not answer you, or they're going to give you some sort of twisted explanation, which usually involves trying to bring down some sort of prophet, or point some sort of finger of blame towards someone else and say, well, it's alright for Mirza to do that as well. They don't actually answer what you ask them. Like when you ask someone, why did you slap somebody? They're going to say, well, so-and-so insulted someone else 10 years ago, 100 years ago. I'm telling you, why did you slap somebody? Why did Mirza write this? Answer this. They don't give it. So the responses of the speaker, Muhammad Dar, the responses in the video show that, honestly, I don't believe that he could have studied Mirza's books, because he's contradicted Mirza's writings in answering the so-called allegations. I will show in this video, I'll show Mirza's writings and explain that the allegations that Muhammad Dar is stating he thinks allegations, they're actually not allegations, but they're in fact written by Mirza Ghulam in his books, official Ahmadiyya books. Now, if the speaker in the video, Muhammad Dar, is actually listening at any time to this video, you're going to be shocked. I mean, I was shocked as well when I started finding out all the truth. I was in Ahmadiyya myself, and I really thought it was great. And I thought initially I was thinking, oh yeah, this is a good form of Islam. I think it's a really nice form of Islam. It's the same marketing package, my friend. I think the things you say, it sounds similar to some stuff that I said. I mean, you're a bit more than me. You're going a bit too much in, like you really, really believe it so much. But I don't think you really read Mirza Ghulam's books properly. You may have read some books. I'm not here to character assassinate you at all. I'm just talking about the content of your video. So I'm trying to be as respectful as I can, contrary to how other people behave sometimes. So the first allegation is that Mirza and his community do not follow the basic principles of Islam. Now, to investigate this allegation, the speaker, Muhammad Dar, says that he went to the Ahmadiyya mosque and got the 10 conditions of bay'ah. You call it 10 conditions of bay'at, how you say it in Urdu or whatever. So, the speaker goes through the conditions of bay'ah, and, the fourth condition, obviously the wording of the fourth condition is that, the words are, that under the impulse of any passion, she shall cause no harm whatsoever to the creatures of God in general and Muslims in particular, neither by his or her tongue nor any other means. Now, the speaker, Muhammad Dar, says that this had a strong impact on him, and he quotes the hadith of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Muhammad Dar says this hadith, which is not accurate, by the way. The wording is wrong, what he says. But he says, somebody asked him, the Prophet ﷺ, which Islam is the best Islam? He replied, the Muslim from whose tongue and actions other Muslims are safe is the best Muslim. Now this is not the wording of the hadith, Muhammad Dar. This is not the wording. I don't know if somebody gave you that or you're paraphrasing, but if you're paraphrasing, you've completely changed the question. You've made it a lot very, very different. The actual hadith states, Abu Musa radiallahu anhu reported, I asked the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the most excellent among the Muslims? He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, one from whose tongue and hands the other Muslims are secure. Now this is from Bukhari. This is from Bukhari and from Sahih Muslim as well. Now, like I said, Muhammad Dar says that somebody asked the Prophet ﷺ, which Islam is the best Islam. That's not the hadith, Muhammad Dar. You've given a completely wrong hadith. I don't know who gave you that, but I strongly advise you to check the original hadith so that you yourself can get some real facts, real information, true information, so that you can evaluate whether you've made the correct decision to join this organization. Now, I'm not just telling you that just on one point, but you'll hear me saying probably the same thing throughout this video, because I sincerely believe that you, Muhammad Dar, I think you've made a serious mistake, and I don't think you're aware of Mirza's writings. I think missionaries and murabbis have just rubbished everybody else who's not Ahmadi, rubbish anyone who speaks and says the truth of Ahmadiyya. They bring you Maulvis and all sort of stuff just to scare you away from checking, and just trust them. That's what they want to do. They want to trust them and just think that everyone else is a Maulvi. Well, I'm not a Maulvi. I've got nothing to do with Maulvis. I'm not Asian even. We don't have Maulvis in our countries. So just to let you know that. Well, I want to give some examples. Obviously, we've got the fourth condition of bay'at. I've read it out word for word. Now, the speaker, I'm trying to give the speaker and any listeners examples of Mirza's abuse. In Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 14, in the book called Najm al-Huda, page 53. I quote, this is a translation of the Urdu. Obviously, in the Urdu will be on your screen, you can see. It says, our enemies are pigs of the jungle, and their women have become worse than bitches. Our enemies are pigs of the jungle, and their women have become worse than bitches. That's some abusive words by your so-called promised Messiah, Mirza Ghulam of Qadian. Another one is from Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 10, Arya Dharam, the book, page 64. O stupid Aryas, go into some well and drown to death. Go into some well and drown to death. This is how Mirza used his tongue to hurt people. It doesn't matter, whether these people were inciting Islam or not. He's supposed to be the better example. He's not supposed to carry on like a regular person would and just be inflamed by his passions. Remember the wording of condition number 4, yeah? So the next example, Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 10, Arya Dharam, page 63. Such haramzade, which people know it means bastards. So such bastards, who are the enemies of the holy and beloved ones of God Almighty, make false accusations against him. This is what he said. The next one, Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 9, Anwar al-Islam, page 31. And I quote, now this is translation obviously. Even then, if someone assertively denies me and does not pay attention to this point and mixes truth and falsehood, then without doubt he is not a wald halal and pure offspring. So he's saying that you're not a wald halal. So obviously we know what the opposite of that is. Now if any person goes against this decision for the sake of causing trouble and out of his mischief repeatedly states that the Christians were victorious, and if such person does not have any shame, with the exception of the person who responds to our decision with justice, whoever denies and does not refrain from babbling and does not accept our victory, then it will be clearly understood that such person is fond of being a bastard, walad haram, is fond of being a walad haram, and is not a legitimate offspring. Now Mirza here quite shamefully is using his tongue to hurt not only so-called people who opposed him, but even the parents of that person, because he's saying that this person is not a legitimate offspring. So he's offending the parents. Now that's absolutely hurting people with his tongue, and it is unbefitting of someone claiming to be a prophet and a Mahdi and a promised Messiah, and obviously I'm not going to give it away, but everything else that he claimed, you'll see it throughout the video. It doesn't befit him, and I don't think that the speaker, Muhammad, I don't believe he has read these things. I really don't believe so, because I really don't believe that he could come and make a video, putting his picture, his face on the video, and being so sincere, if he actually has read these things. I really don't think so. I think maybe he got some explanations from these missionaries or murabbis without actually seeing the actual page on with his own eyes. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole point is you can't say these points knowing that Mirza wrote this. That's why I'm doing this video. Now remember that the actual fourth condition of bay'ah, it was included the British government. That was taken out. Now Muhammad, the speaker on the video, doesn't know this, and many Ahmadis don't know this as well. In Rawhani Khaza'in volume 13, in Kitab al-Bariyah, page 13, it says, and like I have previously explained in the fourth condition of bay'at, to be sincere well-wishers of the British officials or British government, let's say British officials, and sincerely sympathetic towards mankind. Now the word British officials is a translation of the Urdu Sarkar Angrezi. Okay? The word you'll see in Urdu, if you can't read Urdu, it says Sarkar Angrezi. I'm not saying to the speaker of the video, I'm not saying it to Muhammad that he doesn't speak Urdu, I'm saying it to anyone listening. If you don't know Urdu, the two words you will see that Mirza put into the fourth condition of bay'ah, he put Sarkar Angrezi. What brought the British government, the colonialists, the invaders of India, what brought them into the bay'ah of a supposed prophet of Allah? The supposed prophet of Allah, who is supposed to clarify Islam, is supposed to be the Mahdi, right? He's supposed to clarify and strengthen our deen, is telling you to be a sincere well-wisher of the colonialist invaders, who most people in history, most historians would tell you the truth. They'll be honest, not the ones who are paid by the British government, but the genuine historians. They'll tell you what harm did the British do to India. They did a lot of harm. Oh yeah, they'll bring you a few little things they did which are good, but they did so much harm. They took so much of their wealth, and they built England. They built so many parts of England with it, alright? So you have to know that we've done a video about the British in India and what they did. We've covered economic stuff. We've covered the British opium trade, which opium is where you make heroin from. The British government was involved in that with the East India Company. So we've got a lot of evidence if you want to see. If you don't want to see it, I can't force you. But it's right there. So how come your Mahdi, your supposed prophet of God, can stick in Sarkar Angrezi, and you're supposed to be a sincere well-wisher towards them? It doesn't make any sense. And he was actually sending this message to other people who were not even under the power. They were not under even the domination of the British colonialists. Let's face it, no one needed their country to be dominated by colonialists. No one needed it. They didn't help anyone advance in their education or anything. They didn't advance people's economy. All they did was they came in, imposed their way of life, the British way of life on them, imposed their sort of economic system on them, and put their own leaders. They basically create hegemony in that country. They put their own leaders, puppet leaders, who would report back to them. And it still goes on now with various other countries, not just from the British, but from other superpowers. They do this sort of thing to control countries indirectly. Now, the funny thing is that why doesn't the bay'ah form? That's a very clear point, which I say all the time. Why doesn't the bay'ah form to date? Up to date, it still does not state that Mirza Ghulam claimed to be a prophet. Clearly say this. Say that he claimed to be a prophet and the second coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why does the bay'ah form does not say this? I'm saying this directly to the speaker Muhammad Dar I'm saying it to you directly, because you have to understand the deception of this organization. Okay? Many of us have been there, done that. We were there and we left. We found out the truth. It was a very hard time in our lives, all of us who left, because we couldn't believe that this was true, we couldn't believe that Ahmadiyya was false. Alright? We really struggled with it. We were like, no way, this can't be it. You know, we couldn't have made such a mistake. Like I myself, I wasn't born into it. I joined it, right? And I left it. So I could not believe that this could be a mistake. But after I left and I realized, I said, why didn't they put in the bay'ah form that Mirza Ghulam claimed to be a prophet and the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Look at the bay'ah form again, Muhammad Dar. Look at it and you'll see yourself. Why does it not say that? The answer is the Ahmadiyya organization is being deceitful. They want to lull people in. They want to trick them into joining. And then afterwards they start finding out the truth of what Mirza claimed. But then it's too late, because maybe, you know, you've established yourself amongst all these people. You've made friends. Or you know, they've given you a position, etc., etc., you know. Or you've lost your family because, you know, your family turned against you because they think you've become a kafir or something. So they make you lose something. They make you really sacrifice. And then it's too late. Some people find it's too late, you know, or some people get married and then they have children, and then if they want to leave Ahmadiyya, the wife does not leave with them. And so then they don't leave Ahmadiyya. So do you understand what I mean? It's a massive trap. And I sincerely, you know, from the bottom of my heart, I'm saying this to you, you know, please go and check things. Really make sure that you know what you're talking about, because you're going to be stuck in this for the rest of your life. And if you come when you're older and you say, you know what, I've had some doubts about this thing, and I didn't want to speak about it, well, you know, I didn't want to face it. Well, you're going to be too old one day, and then you're going to be too weak to leave Ahmadiyya. So, you know, you can take my advice or don't take my advice. You're free to do what you want. The sixth condition of bay'ah, Muhammad Dar mentions in his video. He says that he or she shall refrain from following un-Islamic customs and lustful inclinations. Well, un-Islamic customs, I can go straight into that and I can tell you what is Bihishti Maqbara. What is Bihishti Maqbara? That is not an Islamic custom at all. What is Wasiyah? That's not an Islamic custom at all. That is a complete innovation, both of them. What's compulsory chanda? Compulsory chanda, you don't have a choice, you have to pay it. That's not part of our pillars of Islam. This is a new thing that Mirza Ghulam has come and thrown into it and telling his followers that this is Islam. So you've got Bihishti Maqbara, Wasiyah and compulsory chanda. Remember that. You know, so this is actually a violation of that trick. The sixth condition of bay'ah, the whole bay'ah form, more or less, most of the conditions, Mirza has violated, or his organization have violated it. So, you know, this is something to consider. And Muhammad Dar says that I thought this man is setting up a very high standard. You know, he's referring obviously to Mirza Ghulam, you know, regarding, you know, regarding the point that he says that Mirza was humble and cheerful despite persecution, and patient despite being persecuted. And then Muhammad Dar says this is the highest standard in any Muslim organization right now. You know? So, you know, Muhammad Dar, you and any listeners, like I said from the beginning, I'm being respectful. There's absolutely I have nothing personal against you. I have no intention of doing any sort of character assassination, nothing. You know? I have absolutely nothing that, you know, negative that I want to say to you. Even you've said your whole life story, I don't need to bring that up. That's absolutely irrelevant here. Because I talk about just Mirza's writings, it's not about people. This is the opposite of what people try to do with me and others. They try to character assassinate me and others so that the Ahmadis don't listen to us. So they try to say to you, oh, he's so-and-so, oh, he did this, oh, he did that. Make up any lies about you, about me and others so that they don't listen. Now, I'm not doing that. I'm showing you the opposite of what Ahmadi people, the Ahmadi organization does to us. I don't bring anything with it to do with it. But I need to tell you that the 10 conditions of bay'ah are an excellent marketing tool. They are such a brilliant marketing tool. And I can tell you from my own experience. You know why? Because while I was researching Ahmadiyya, obviously I was given the really rosy picture, the really nice picture of Ahmadiyya. Obviously it's a fake picture, I know that now. But at that time, I was given this fake picture of Ahmadiyya saying we just follow the Sunnah and we just have the Mahdi. And I felt really special. I felt like I'm being blessed here. I thought this is unbelievable. And then when I saw the 10 conditions, I was sold. I was like, okay, that's it, I'm joining this organization. Because someone kept pressuring me and saying, hey, do you want to sign this form? Do you want to join our thing? And I kept thinking, why on earth is this guy pressuring me like a salesman for? What is wrong with this guy? He was literally like a salesman, pressuring me. Do you want to sign it? Do you want to sign it? Hey, should I go bring the form? Do you want to sign it? You don't need to do that. Obviously, I didn't know I was leaving Islam, joining Ahmadiyya. I thought I was still a Muslim. I thought this is Islam. I'm just improving my Islam by joining this Ahmadiyya organization. And obviously it's called Ahmadiyya. That's the official thing. Obviously, you know it's from Qadian and Mirza Qadian and all that business. They call it Ahmadiyya. So it sounds very legitimate, doesn't it? But when I saw the marketing tool, the 10 conditions of bay'ah, I saw this brilliant marketing tool. And I said, this is so Islamic. That's what I said. I said, this is so Islamic. I'm sold. These people can't be lying. Obviously, I was wrong. What a massive shock. What a massive shock I found afterwards. Obviously, I left after 3.5 years. I didn't just leave after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. 3.5 years, it's a good amount of time to be in there, to be fooled by this organization. And I left, obviously, after I found Mirza's writings, which was like a maze to find them, by the way. That's why we make videos, because we know how difficult it is to go and ask someone, read every single book of Mirza and find out. No, that's why we bring you the pages. We bring you the pages so that you can see, and you can go and look at the page before and after. Look at the page before and after. All the excuses that the Ahmadi organization tells you that we're lying and stuff because we don't get the page before, page after, we mistranslated. Go and get the page before and after. Go and get it translated. I mean, you know, if you know Urdu properly, read it. If you don't, get a professional Urdu speaker. And read the page before and after, and the page that we're telling you. Read everything. And then come back. And if we're lying about the reference, come and say it, because we know we're not lying. So we know we can't bring anything like that. Now, after the speaker, Muhammad Dar, goes through the conditions of bay'ah, he says, if anyone finds this un-Islamic, then I think there's definitely something wrong with them. Now, obviously, it's not fair to judge the whole Ahmadiyya beliefs by just looking at the 10 conditions of bay'ah, because, yeah, you're on the side of Ahmadiyya right now, so it's hard for you to imagine that this could be wrong, right? But you've got to understand it's not really, it's objective, really. Honestly, it's an objective view, but because now we're sure that Ahmadiyya is wrong, people could say it's a subjective view, but actually it's objective, because we were with you before. We were Ahmadi before as well, right? And, we will tell you that, what were the original writings of Mirza Ghulam? So many of them are un-Islamic. You can see many things will be presented in this video, but also we've made so many other videos with Mirza Ghulam's and Ahmadiyya official publications, official pages on the screen, right? They're not by a Mulvi, they're not by anyone. I mean, as I said a million times before, we have nothing to do with Mulvis. We don't have no one giving us this stuff. We go and we check it, and we get it translated, and we verified it. We know that this is written by Mirza. He's got so many un-Islamic beliefs and un-Islamic principles that we sincerely, without, it's going to offend you, we believe that Mirza Ghulam is not a Muslim. And so therefore his organization is not a Muslim organization. No matter how much they want to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, Mirza's contradicting La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah with what he says. They've even changed the definition of the kalima. So that La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, the definition has been changed. We made a video about this. There's so much information. And I sincerely hope that Muhammad Dar, I hope you can, follow it through and be fair. You've got what you're stating, you're presenting all your evidence, but you also have to check the stuff. Oh, you don't have to, but we're telling you honestly. What have you got to lose? Find out if we're lying or not. Check out the pages on screen. Check out if we're lying or not. So moving on to the second allegation. Muhammad Dar says even prophets make mistakes. So Muhammad Dar explains in his video, Mirza believed that the word khatam meant last in the literal sense, and believed that there will be no prophet after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why did he later change his view? The allegation is that Mirza was a liar. He said one thing and then later on changed his view. The question that Muhammad Dar asked himself was, can prophets make mistakes? Now, the first thing I have to say to you, Muhammad Dar, you've already assumed that Mirza Ghulam's a prophet. How can you say, can prophets make mistakes? You've just already given him credibility that he's a prophet. The whole point is, Muhammad Dar, and for any listeners, is that you check first if this person can at all be a prophet by looking at his character, by looking at what he has brought for Islam, by looking at what he has written or stated in his lectures or whatever, any material information that this person has brought. You look at that. Why do people, when they hire you for a job, they go and get a reference first? They say, what is this person's character? They go and contact your previous job and they say, is this person of good character? People who want to apply to be lawyers, they have to get statements stating that they have good moral character. So before they even admit the student to, for example, take the studies to be a lawyer, for example, in the UK or in the USA and many other countries, they want a moral character determination. So you've just gone straight forward and said, yeah, this person's a lawyer straight away. You have to check his character first. Mirza Ghulam's character has to be checked first. So you've gone and asked yourself the wrong question, Muhammad Dar. You said, can prophets make mistakes? You're assuming Mirza's a prophet. So I move on now to move on with what you said here. So Muhammad Dar says then he looked at the Quran to see if there are any examples of prophets who made mistakes and then rectified it. His example, one example, he says, Surah Abasa, says that the Prophet ﷺ frowned and turned away. Then Allah told the Prophet ﷺ he shouldn't have done that. And then he also presents the story of Hazrat Yunus, who left his town and was swallowed by a whale. He repented and was saved. Then he brings Sayyidina Moses and Khizr, where he says Moses made mistakes and Khizr corrected him. And then he also brings in change of Qibla. Then he also brings in companions used to drink before revelation. Now, a quick point on these things here. Number one, these points, for example, the companions used to drink before revelation, that's not a mistake. They used to drink, and then there's a command that's come and said, listen, no more drinking. It's not a mistake. It's not like the Quran said, yes, you can drink, and then it came back with a verse saying, no, you can't drink. Do you understand the difference here? There was never a permission to drink. It was just, people used to just drink. But there was no command from Islam saying you can drink, and then now we're going to say, no, you can't drink. Do you understand that point? So if you think of it as a law of a country, there was no law saying, yes, you can drink. And then the same government comes back and says, no, you can't drink. That would be contradicting yourself or making a mistake, as you want to call it. Islam never gave the right to drink. Yes, people used to drink at the time, but Islam never said you can drink. They give you a right. And then they took back the right and said, no, you can't drink. Do you understand? So you're making a completely wrong mistake, wrong comparison. You're making a big mistake with what you're saying there. You know, and I'm only saying this so you can help yourself, because maybe you've asked the wrong questions. You know, everything about Mirza Ghulam is in his books. The pages that we have shown in many of our videos, the scan pages that you will see in this video, they reflect what this man is about. You will find everything. You don't need to say, can prophets make mistakes? Go look at his writings, and then your questions are going to change to, how can this man write such filthy things and such un-Islamic stuff? This man cannot be a prophet. You can't say to yourself, can the prophet make a mistake, when you're still trying to check if he's a prophet. Mirza Ghulam is not a verified prophet. For all Ahmadis listening and anyone who's thinking of Ahmadiyya, Mirza Ghulam is not a verified prophet. So don't compare him to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't compare him to any previous prophet. He is not verified. If you're a Muslim today, then you know that all the previous prophets, they are verified, because the Quran tells us so. Alright? Mirza Ghulam is not in the Quran. He is not verified. So you cannot compare someone who's not checked out compared to other people who have been vetted and checked out thoroughly, and Allah has told us that these people are prophets. You have to understand that point. Now, Muhammad Dar also says that Mirza had the view that Khatam meant last, in the way that the majority of Muslims believed. He says that God corrected him and told Mirza the actual meaning, that there will be no prophet like Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and that the Quran is the last Sharia to be followed. Now, obviously, what are you talking about, like Sayyidina Muhammad? I'm going to come to that now, and I'll show you some evidence that I don't think you're aware of. Now, Muhammad Dar said that based on that, if somebody calls him a liar, as in Mirza a liar, then they have to say that, na'udhu billah, all the other references that I've made, as in the Quranic references, they would also fall in the same category, and obviously that's not acceptable. Now, Muhammad Dar, the way you're speaking is the way that the missionaries of Ahmadiyya speak. That's what gives me this suspicion that they've sat there and just vetted you and trained you and told you this, and you're very comfortable thinking that they told you the truth. Now, if that's the case, that they told you all this stuff, I can tell you right now that they lied to you. Alright, I can tell you that they lied to you. If you really fear Allah and you're really worried about your akhirah, don't listen to these people, go read yourself. Go and read for yourself. When we're putting up pages throughout this video on screen, go check the pages and tell us that we're lying about that reference, alright? I want you to come back and say, yes, I think you're lying. Osama said, I think you're lying about this page. This is not in our books. It's not from alislam.org or something. I just want you to come and say that, because I know you can't say that. And if you do say that to me, that means you're lying. Alright? Because we got everything from alislam.org and it's all saved. So even if the Ahmadiyya organization takes it off the internet, we've still all got it and we've shared it with so many people anyway. So, another point I want to say to you is that Mirza Ghulam is not a measuring stick. You don't use him to measure the other prophets up against him. If you want to look, really, you can look at other prophets, then look at Mirza's writings, then compare Mirza to those prophets and say, would those prophets speak or write the things that Mirza wrote? Would they have such un-Islamic beliefs? The answer is no. And especially if you want to compare to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is no comparison. But you want to be fair to yourself, right? You want to be fair. You want to say, alright, I had a good look at Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's character. I had a good look at what he brought for this world, the message of the Quran for the whole of mankind, for the remainder of the time of this earth. The Quran is the last message. Look what he brought. Look at the example, his sunnah. Look at the example he brought to mankind, teaching us how to be good human beings, which is what Allah wants anyway. Allah wants us to be good human beings. That's the whole purpose of religion. Religion is not put on earth so that we can fight each other and say, no, I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim, or I'm a Sunni, you're a Shi'i, or I'm an Ahmadi and you're a normal Muslim. No, that was not the point. We're not supposed to be divided, okay? That's what we know. Be not divided. That was the original command. And Sayyidina Muhammad was never divided, and he never had a sect. We were never divided. But it became divided because of men. And we don't know which enemies of Islam came and made all these divisions. So you have to understand that Mirza Ghulam is not a measuring stick. I mean, he's not someone to measure against. Sayyidina Muhammad is someone to measure against. Bring Mirza and compare him to Sayyidina Muhammad, and you will see that there's no comparison. You can't make your own little barometer. You can't make your own sort of measuring tool. We're either working with inches or centimeters or millimeters or any of the established measuring units. You can't come with your own little unit. Make your own little unit up and say, oh, that's fine. Mirza measures up to my units. Yeah, I think he's a true prophet. That's not correct at all. Now, alhamdulillah, the obviously carrying on with the word khatam and khatam nabi and all that business. Obviously, we at Islam After Ahmadiyya, we don't even bother going into this because we're not going to sit here arguing with people. Oh, does it mean the best of? Oh, does it mean the final? Oh, like you're coming and you're saying that it means like, or it says that there will be the actual meaning is that there will be no prophet like Prophet Muhammad. We don't go into that. The only thing I will say about this point is that Mirza Ghulam claimed to be the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad. So you're saying they won't be like Prophet Muhammad? Well, how about if he says that he will be Prophet Muhammad? How do you like that? How do you like that? Mirza Ghulam claimed that he's the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad and that his coming was stronger and more complete than the coming of Sayyidina Muhammad. Now how on earth can that be? Now you see yourself how this is contradicted. I've just shown you right now contradiction from Mirza Ghulam's writings contradicting what you stated, which again it tells me that you haven't read all the books of Mirza because you would have known these points. Now this is not, again, I'm not saying something, I'm not trying to insult you or nothing at all. I'm telling you, I really don't believe you read them. I don't think you're lying or nothing. I just think there are things that you haven't been shown, because I think you had certain people who go around, they train people, these missionaries, murabbis they call them, they go around telling people package deals, alright? They give you a package deal, they say, look, these are all the allegations that come, here are all the answers. And believe me, they are not answers. when you look at the actual writing, which the Murabbis will probably not show you, they paraphrase a lot. Because I say they because I've seen them do this myself when I was in Ahmadiyya. They paraphrase. They don't tell you actual word for word the hadith. They don't tell you word for word what does the hadith say, or what does word for word Mirza's writing say. They say no, Mirza was just talking about this. Promised Messiah was just talking about this, and people make this allegation against him, and this is the answer. They don't show you the page. They don't say, look, this is the writing of it. And this is the case with many things, such as there's so much evidence. I think later on in the video, you're going to see quite a bit of evidence on there covering these things. So moving on to allegation number 3. The Muhammad Dar, the speaker, says many nations, many claims, same person, many names. So he says, Muhammad Dar, the speaker, says he never claimed to be a reincarnation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Obviously, due to possible technicalities that may come out of this statement that he said, I'm going to cover everything just to, because, if you want to say he never actually said the word, reincarnation, the term reincarnation, I'm going to give you so much stuff that will show you that he claimed to be Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, I've got proof here that Mirza claimed to be the second advent of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I've got proof here that Mirza claimed to be higher than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I've got proof how the Ahmadiyya organization completely distort the meaning, change the meaning of the verses of Surah Al-Jum'ah to try to prove that Mirza is Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the first part of Mirza's books, or the Ahmadiyya organization's books, the first one is Tuhfa Gurarviya, page 248, Rawhani Khaza'in, volume 17. Now this is the translation. It's all written in Urdu, so I'm giving you the English translation. I'm going to start now. Every prophet had one advent, but our Prophet ﷺ had 2 advents. And the verse وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ confirms this. All the biggest mufassirin regarding this verse write that the last group of this ummah, يعني the Masih Ma'uz Jama'at, will be in the form of Sahaba. And just like the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, without any difference, will attain guidance, hidayah from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next page is Tuhfa Gurarviya, page 249, Rawhani Khaza'in, volume 17. Again, it's written in Urdu, I'm reading the English translation. The Urdu will be on screen right now. In this light, one must believe in another advent of the Holy Prophet, which will be in the latter days in the time of Masih Ma'ud. In the time of Masih Ma'ud. The Holy Prophet had 2 advents. In other words, you may say that one mission was in the reincarnated form. It was promised that the Holy Prophet would be sent to the world once again, and this was fulfilled by the advent of promised Messiah and the promised Mahdi. And then further down the page you'll see it says, this is Urdu and English translation I'm going to state now. It is strange that the stupid or mindless, foolish, the word is nadan, it could mean mindless or foolish or stupid. So I'll explain, I'll say it again now. So it is strange that the mindless, foolish or stupid Maulvis, the clerics, are waiting for the coming of Hazrat Masih, Jesus, but the Quran gives glad tidings of the return of our Prophet. So that's on your screen right there, so anybody who wants to accuse me and say what's coming out of my mouth is not on screen, look on screen and see the page and see if I'm lying. The next piece of evidence is Rawhani Khaza'in, volume 17. Now this is the government Angrezi or Jihad, and it's page 28. It's written in Urdu, I'm reading English translation. I have been sent as an incarnate, awtar. The word is awtar which is being used. So I have been sent as awtar, or an incarnate of Hadrat Masih and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's on screen. All these things are from alislam.org, official Ahmadiyya website, not a Mulvi. Next one, Rahani Khaza'in, volume 16, Khutbah Ilhamiyya, page 258 to 259. Now this page, there's Urdu, there's Farsi, there's Arabic. So I'm going to, obviously the video's in English. I can read the Arabic if I wanted to, but I'm going to read the English. Read in English for the listeners. I start now. And Allah sent down upon me the bounty of the Holy Prophet and made it perfect. So I repeat that. And Allah sent down upon me the bounty of the Holy Prophet and made it perfect. And He drew towards me the kindness and generosity of the merciful Prophet, so that I became one with him. Thus he who joins my Jama'at joins the group of the companions of my leader, the best of messengers. And this is the meaning of آخرين منهم. It is not hidden from those who have the ability to think. The person who makes a difference between me and Mustafa, Holy Prophet ﷺ, has neither seen me or recognized me. Now what this piece of evidence presents to you, it should, I hope, your mind should be saying, realizing, because the listeners who've never seen any of our videos, we always explain that Mirza Ghulam wrote in a left to right, up and down sort of way. He would never come out straight and say, yes, absolutely, I'm the second coming of Muhammad ﷺ. That's it. No, he'll go up and down, up and down. So here he says, has neither seen me or recognized me. So what does he mean? He means that I am the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, because there's no difference between us. So the next piece of evidence, Kalimat al-Fasl, page 105. Now this is stated, is written by Mirza Bashir Ahmed M.A. Qamar al-Anbiya, that was his nickname. It's such a quite a silly title that he's been given, because it doesn't deserve to be called that at all. So obviously it's written in Urdu, pages on screen right now, and I'm reading in English the translation. So in this regard, can there remain any doubt on this point that Allah Ta'ala descended Muhammad ﷺ again in Qadian, so that he could fulfill his promise which he stated in وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ? So he said here, like I've just stated here, he says in this surah, can there remain any doubt in this point that Allah Ta'ala has descended Muhammad ﷺ again in Qadian, which means Mirza Ghulam is the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad. This is what this man has written. And again, shameful, absolutely, really ridiculous use of, just rinsed out, really just used the وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ verse to the limit. I mean, changed the meaning and used it so many times. Next piece of evidence, Kalimat al-Fasl, page 113. The author, again, is Bashir Ahmed M.A. Alhamdulillah, we thank Bashir Ahmed M.A. for giving us so many good pieces of evidence here. Again, the order's on screen. I'm reading English translation. The English translation. I'll start now. Every prophet was granted accomplishments and perfections according to his capacity and performance in varying degrees. But the promised Messiah was granted prophethood when he had attained all the accomplishments of the prophethood of Muhammad ﷺ, and was qualified to be called a shadow prophet. Thus, this shadow prophethood did not make the steps of the promised Messiah lag behind, but it pushed them forward to such an extent that it brought him on equal footing with the Holy Prophet ﷺ. I hope the listeners have understood what this says. Bashir Ahmed M.A. is saying that Mirza Ghulam has been brought forward on equal footing with Sayyidina Muhammad, as in same level. Now we're going to give you evidence that's even more damning than this. It's even stronger than this. Anyway, that's going to come in a minute or so. The next piece of evidence is Kalimat al-Fasl, page 104. Again, written by Mirza Bashir Ahmed M.A. Again, I'm reading an English translation. It should be on your screen right now. I'm reading the English translation. So, here we start. Friends, where you have believed Ahmed to be the complete buruz of Muhammad, so what is stopping you from believing the deniers of Ahmad to be the complete buruz of Muhammad's deniers. And also focus on this point, that Allah Ta'ala has mentioned the second advent of the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the Quran, in Surah Jum'ah. In this verse, Allah Ta'ala has clearly stated that just like the Holy Prophet ﷺ was sent to the unlettered people, yani the people of Mecca, as a Rasul, in the same way he will be sent to another group of people who have not been born into the world yet. But because it goes against the law of nature for a person who has died to return the world, because Allah has clearly stated in the Holy Quran, هُمَ لَا يَرْجَعُونَ, those who do not return. So this promise can only be fulfilled when for the second advent of the Holy Prophet, such a person is chosen who has taken full part from the Holy Prophet's kamalat nubuwwat, complete prophethood. Such a person who is mujtaba in husn and ihsan and guidance of khulq Allah, and who excels in the Holy Prophet's following to the extent that he becomes a living picture of the Holy Prophet. So without doubt, the coming of such a person into the world is the coming of Nabi Kareem himself into the world. And because of the resemblance, no difference remains between Masih Maw'ud and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to the extent that both of their beings are the existence of one command. So let me reiterate here. I'm going to reiterate this point. And because of the resemblance, no difference remains between Masih Maw'ud and Nabi Kareem. So no difference remains between Mirza and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the man who brought the whole of this deen and brought us his sunnah and has inspired billions of people over the last 1400 years to live with honor, with dignity, and live the Islamic way. Mirza is putting himself on the same level. Mirza, who tells you to go and do sacrifice your wealth and your life for the colonialists, and forces people to give chanda and makes up all this bhishtim, all this rubbish. This is what Mirza is saying, that he's on the same level as Sayyidina Muhammad. Obviously, you have to permit me to call it rubbish, because this is very offensive to Sayyidina Muhammad. So any Muslims listening, myself, obviously I'm Muslim as well, all of us Muslim listeners are disgusted by a man like Mirza trying to say that he is the same level as Sayyidina Muhammad. But what I'm going to say now, or actually no, I'm going to cover now something else. What I'm going to say after that is even more shocking to people who have not heard it before. What I'm going to say now, I believe this is the change of the meaning of the kalima. This is from Kalimat al-Fasl, page 158. It's written in Urdu. I'm reading English translation. On screen will be the Urdu. I start now. Yes, due to the advent of the promised Messiah, a difference has cropped up in the meaning of the kalima. Before the appearance of the mission of the promised Messiah, the words Muhammad Rasulullah included in their meaning only such messengers as had preceded him. But after the mission of the promised Messiah, one more messenger has entered into the meaning of Muhammad Rasulullah. One more messenger has entered into the meaning of Muhammad Rasulullah. Therefore, on account of the incarnation of the promised Messiah, the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah does not become abolished, it rather shines more brightly. In short, the same kalima is effective even now for embracing Islam, with the only difference that the incarnation of the promised Messiah has added one more messenger to the meaning of Muhammad Rasulullah. That the promised Messiah has added one more messenger to the meaning of Muhammad Rasulullah. Moreover, even if we accept, by supposing the impossible, that the sacred name of the merciful Prophet has been included in the kalima because he is the last of the prophets, even then no difficulty arises, and we do not need a new kalima, because the promised Messiah is not a separate entity from the merciful Prophet. As Mirza Ghulam has said, my entity has become his entity, and he who makes a distinction between me and Mustafa has not recognized me nor has seen me. And the reason for this is that Allah Almighty has promised that he would reincarnate the last of the prophets, Khatam Nabiyyin, to this world once more, as it is evident from the verse آخرين منهم, others of them. Thus, the promised Messiah is himself Muhammad. Thus, the promised Messiah is himself Muhammad, the Prophet of Allah, who had come to the world again to spread Islam. We do not therefore need a new kalima. A new kalima would have been necessary if some other person had been reincarnated instead of Muhammad, the Prophet of Allah. So contemplate. Inshallah, I hope Muhammad Dar, I really hope one day you watch this video. If you're watching it now and you're listening to this, if you have seen these writings, there's no way you would speak so confidently and say that Mirza never claimed to be a reincarnate, or if you want to play technicalities, that's unjust. I'm going to trust that you're not trying to play technicalities when you listen to this video and you look at our evidence and we show you that Mirza claimed to be the second coming of Muhammad. His family members have even said this with the evidence on screen. And obviously Muslims are going to be disgusted and very angered by this, that this man Mirza comes to try and take glory from our supreme, beautiful Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the best of mankind, the best messenger, the most important messenger sent to this ummah, sent to mankind, because he has brought the last message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, uniting all the previous messengers and their messages. Now I'm reading now this next one is from Tadhkirah. The date in Tadhkirah is 27th of August 1899. Mirza Ghulam says, I received the revelation concerning myself. Many thrones have descended from heaven, but your throne has been set up the highest of all. I want people to contemplate that and think, what do you think Mirza means by that? Absolutely, just take a wild guess. When Mirza says to himself, Mirza says that Allah sent him this revelation, and it says that Mirza's throne has been set up the highest of all. What does that mean? Does that mean he's got the highest seat at the dinner table at his house? Or his house is on top of a mountain or something? No, it doesn't. You can draw your own conclusions from that. What he says, many thrones have descended from heaven, but your throne has been set up the highest of all. If we're going to talk about thrones, no one is higher than Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we want to, this is Mirza's revelation. I'm not saying this is a revelation of Islam, an Islamic revelation. But if we want to talk about thrones, if we're going to compare this, well, obviously no one's throne, no one can be higher than Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah obviously is the highest of everything. So obviously if we want to talk about messengers and prophets, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has got to be the highest. So what does Mirza think he's doing with this revelation? And if he got this revelation, why did he put it in his book for? If it's so wrong, if Ahmadis want to deny and say, oh, it's not his fault, he got revelation, why did he write it down for? What do you want people to take from this revelation when you put it in your book? So any of your denials don't work. Also, you will see on screen there's another so-called revelation that Mirza states. He claims that he got it in Arabic, and it says that Allah has preferred you to everything. Obviously, you'll see that on screen, like I said. Now, this next one is one of the most critical pieces of evidence, and this is where Mirza really buries himself by saying what he says here. This is from Ruhani Khazan, volume 16, Khutbah Ilhamiyya, page 270 to page 272. Now, it's written in Arabic, Urdu, and Farsi, and you're gonna have this picture on screen. The page is on screen right now, and I'm reading the English translation. So I start now. If you have sense, then understand that just as our Prophet ﷺ came in the 5th millennium, he has come in the Buruzi form of promised Messiah at the end of the 6th millennium. And this is proved from the Quran. There is no room for rejection or denial, and except the blind, no one would turn their head. Don't you worry about the verse وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ. And how can the words minhum be true if the Holy Prophet is not present in the akharin? like he was present with the people before. Whatever we have stated, there is no escaping it for the deniers, and the route for the deniers to run away is closed. And whoever rejects this point that the Holy Prophet's coming is related to the 6th century, just like it did for the 5th century, that person rejects the truth and the Quran. But the truth is that the Holy Prophet ﷺ's spirituality at the end of the 6th century, in other words, in these days, in comparison to the previous days, is stronger, complete and severe. So in these days, it is stronger, complete and severe. Aqwa, akmal and ashad. These are the words. Now, this is, it says also, moreover, it is like the moon on the 14th night. Now this, subhanAllah, this is like, obviously, every time I say this in videos, I can't believe that this is, the Ahmadiyya organization has left this in the books. This here, Mirza's gone around, obviously there are 4 pages, I believe. Hold on, you're going to have 3 pages mentioning this. So obviously the page numbers, hopefully inshallah the page numbers on screen will be correct, because obviously it's page 270, 271 and 272. So that's 3 pages on screen that you'll see. And anybody who, you've got just 30 seconds or let's say 1 minute worth of an attention span, you'll see what Mirza's saying. Mirza's saying that his coming is more stronger, more complete and more severe than the coming of when Sayyidina Muhammad first came. So when Sayyidina Muhammad first came, it was weaker, less complete and less severe, because Mirza is saying his coming is stronger, complete, more severe. What does that mean? That means Muhammad his coming was less strong, less complete and less severe. Obviously that's common sense. If someone's saying my coming is stronger, that means the other one's coming is weaker. If someone says my coming is more complete, that means the other one's coming was not complete. If someone says my coming is more severe, that means the first one's coming was less severe. So Mirza is actually saying that his coming is stronger, more complete and more severe than Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ. Now, the Muhammad Dar and all the listeners, how on earth can you ever accept this? Now Muhammad Dar, there's no way you could have read this and you're happy enough to go and put your face on this video and believe all the nonsense that, this is unbelievable. I sincerely don't believe that you've seen this. I think at this moment in time, I think you're a sincere person and you've made a big mistake. That's all I'm going to say to you. I think you're not intentionally trying to deceive the listeners at all. I think you have made a big mistake. You've been given explanations that possibly you have not gone and read the actual pages. Because if you've come into Ahmadiyya, that means you're a person who didn't have these sort of thoughts before. How can you accept these beliefs now that Mirza's coming is more complete, more stronger, more severe? How can you accept that? And you've got all the other evidences that we presented to you here, where his family members are sitting there saying that he's on a level par, and then his revelation, we've preferred you, your throne has descended and it's the highest of all that sort of stuff, as you've seen on screen. How can you have that? The next piece of evidence, and it's the last piece of evidence I'm going to say on this point, is from Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 16, Khutbah Ilhamiyya, page 288. Again, it's written 3 languages. You'll see on screen, I'm reading English translation. And it is clear that the time of the Fath-i Mubin has passed in the era of our Holy Prophet. And the second victory remains, which is much greater and clearer than the first one. And it was destined that this time be the time of the Masih Ma'ud, promised Messiah. Okay? Now that's on screen right there, and you can digest it. You don't need me to keep on digesting it for you. Just one more point before I move on to my other points. The other allegations that Muhammad Dar states in his videos. The listeners are probably shocked. I don't know if Muhammad Dar, if you're aware of this change of kalima. The evidence that we put on screen regarding the change of the kalima, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. If you recall now, it says that another meaning, you've added another messenger to La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and that is Mirza. So, you didn't change the actual wording of it, but you went and added a new definition. That's not allowed. That's against Islamic principle. You can't do that. You've made a new religion by doing that. So you can't play technicality game of, no, I didn't change the word, but I'm going to change the definition. You can't do that. This is Islam. This is not a worldly court or a worldly law set by some government where they want to sit and mess around with definitions of things. This is law set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is our law. We've been told from the beginning of Islam for centuries that La ilaha Rasulullah means one thing. You can't come and add Mirza into it. You can't add. And especially on top of that, it's even more pathetic and ridiculous when you see what Mirza's writings are and what his moral character was like. When you look at all this stuff, you will say to yourself, how can it ever be that this man is the added name, the added prophet to La ilaha Rasulullah? How can his coming be stronger and more complete? How can his throne be set up the highest of all? How can he be on equal footing as Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Astaghfirullah. Any listeners find some courage and face the truth. You got to find some courage, face the truth, and stop listening to. Don't just listen only to a missionary. Read and listen to the missionary. Go and see what he says and go and read for yourself. Don't just take what they tell you and they say, oh, we cover this allegation. Oh, these people are fed by mullahs. I've been sent. People have tried to say that I'm given information by mulvis, by mullahs, all these weird terms. I don't have mulvis or mullahs. I'm not an Asian person, alright? So we don't have any of that stuff. But this is what they might say to you. If you go and say, look, I looked at this video from Islam after Ahmadiyya and this person's put our Ahmadiyya documents on screen. What are they going to say to you? They're going to try and discredit me. They're not actually going to answer what's on there. And if they try and pretend to answer, they're not going to tell you word for word what's on the page. They're going to paraphrase it and make it sound harmless. But you have to look at the word for word, what is written on there. Now, if you come in court, all right, if someone goes before a judge and he's got criminal charges brought against him, and the charges are that this person said that you were a son of a female dog. Now we know what that is, B-I-T-C-H, right? Let's say he called a police officer that, right? There's a video and an audio recording of this person who's being charged with this, crime of let's say it's a crime of insulting, let's say an officer, police officer, right? His lawyer can't come and paraphrase what the defendant said, his client. He can't come and paraphrase what his client said and says to the judge, no, Your Honor, you know what? He just said, he just compared him, he's like similar to a dog or something. No, the actual wording is, you police officer, you are a son of a dog, a B-I-T-C-H. You are a son of a B-I-T-C-H. That's what this defendant has said on recording. We've got it written down. We can write, we've transcribed it, written it down. We've got the video showing you that he said this. His lawyer comes and tries to paraphrase it and change it. Why he's paraphrasing it? Because he's trying to tell the judge, no, it's not that serious, Your Honor. It's not that serious. That's what the Murabbi does. It's not that serious, dear Ahmadi. It's not that serious. No. He didn't say swear words. No. These people, they have lied. Did they show the page before? Who is this person who's saying? Osama said, this person is so and so. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that. He is a such and such. He gets things from Molvis. But that does not change, dear listeners. That does not change what's on screen. I'm telling you where I got this from. Find your references. I know alislam.org, sometimes they move the pages around so you think, I don't know where to find it. But look for the references that are actually printed on the page, not the computer generated page number. Look at the actual scanned document. Look at the page number on the scanned document. That's what I'm reading from. So you need to make sure that you're aware of that. Now moving on. So moving on to the next point, the speaker Muhammad Dar, he's called it delivered quality and quantity with money back guarantee. This is what he's called it, and it says he says what they're saying is that he Mirza Ghulam promised to produce a certain number of books and he produced less, and the money he took for the books, what happened to that money? And Muhammad Dar gives an example which amazingly he calls it a perfect example, which I'll tell you, Muhammad, you'll know why this is not a perfect example. It's actually not a good example at all. But I'll say this is what he says. He says, Muhammad Dar says, suppose I promise to produce 10 books, but I produce 5 books. But I say these 5 books have covered everything that I needed to cover. and are sufficient. And I ship the books, and I also say that anyone who is not satisfied, they can return the copy, and I will send the money back. Is there anything there you find objectionable? Well, the first thing I'm going to say to you is, the example is 5 and 50. Okay, I don't know if you're intentionally just saying 10 and 5 to make it sound like it's half. No, your supposed prophet Mirza knocked 45 off. Okay, he didn't just take 5 off, he took 45 off. He said the 5 is like the 50. It's just a dot difference, nukta. I will read the references after I finish reading out these little quotes from the speaker Muhammad Dar. So it's very important, Muhammad Dar, and all listeners to pay attention, is that the example is a 5 and 50 example, where Mirza promised to deliver 50 and he only delivered 5. So 45 less. And his reasoning is, it's the only difference is a nukta, a dot. As if the dot can just be magically blown, or just blow off the page, just magically becomes 5. Like if I owe you £50 and I give you £5, are you going to be happy with that? No way in hell. If you go and buy a 50-inch TV and I give you a 5-inch TV, how happy are you going to be with that? It's the same. It's the same thing. The only difference is a 0. Just look, I'll give you a 5-inch TV. I know you paid for a 50 and the only difference is a dot. No, the only difference is 45 inches. The same thing here, the only difference is 45 books. Not just a dot on a page. If Mirza Ghulam was receiving his chanda money and someone came and gave him 5 instead of 50 rupees or whatever, he'd probably have him kicked out of his organization. So I carry on. Muhammad Dar, the speaker, says, to ask for donations back is a horrible thing to do. The quality did not go down. There's less quantity needed to cover everything that was needed. I'm going to refute this anyway with Ahmadiyya sources. Next one, he says, if you're unsatisfied, send me the book back and I will give the money back. And then I quote, and then he says here, if I'm refunding your money back, what are you complaining about? So obviously this is, Muhammad Dar, again, with all due respect, I don't think you read these things, these quotes that we're going to give you. If you read all Mirza's books, you would definitely have come across these things, and these are the first things you should have read, because this is the stuff that people like ourselves, we have all this evidence from Mirza's writings and the Ahmadiyya organization's publications to show and object to Mirza's so-called prophethood. We dispute and we don't believe he's from Allah at all whatsoever. We don't even think he's Muslim because of his writings. They take him outside of Islam. So you should have read these first instead of coming with the things that you've come out with and saying 10 instead of 10 and 5. And this is not even it's completely inaccurate. And what it does actually, whether you intend it or not, you're making it seem less harmful. It's very harmful what Mirza wrote and what he did. Saying 10 and 5 as if it's just half. No, it's not. It's 45 less. 5 instead of 50 is 45 less. That's 10%. There's 90% missing. 90% missing. You're making it out like it's just 50% missing. 5 and 10. So now I'll read. This is what the speaker should have read. If you really wanna refute allegations, Muhammad Dar, you and your organization, if you want to be honest and not mislead Ahmadis, okay, because that's what you're doing with this video, misleading Ahmadis, because Ahmadis to date, and they will carry on spamming your video all over the place as if it's answering these writings of Mirza and the Ahmadiyya organization's writings. So you're misleading these Ahmadis because they think you're answering it and you're not answering. The Ahmadis don't know that you didn't even quote from Mirza's book. You're just paraphrasing, giving an example such as 10 and 5. That's completely misleading. So now I'm going to read from Barahin Ahmadiyya part 5. I'll give you the whole thing. Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 21. The Bacha Barahin Ahmadiyya, Hissa Panjam, page 9. This is Barahin Ahmadiyya part 5. Obviously it's written in Urdu. This is the English translation. You have the Urdu on screen. Any people always make stupid allegations against us as if it's inaccurate. Well, you got the page on screen. Pause it. Go and show it to anyone who's a professional Urdu speaker. Show it to them and read it out and see, if our translation is the same or not. So the translation into English is: first, I had intended to write 50 parts, but instead of 50, I remained content with 5. And since there is only a difference of a 0 between 50 and 5, that is why that promise has been fulfilled with 5 parts. Now this is a quote from Mirza. This is what people object to Muhammad Dar. This is the problem they have with Mirza Ghulam. It's not the fact that quality and quantity and all this stuff, you're trying to talk about some quality control thing. We're not talking about a business thing here, business transaction. We're telling you the way this man who claims to be a man of Allah, claiming to be a prophet, claiming to be the second coming of Muhammad, astaghfirullah al-azim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're complaining of the way he says this. How can he treat people and treat them like idiots by just saying the only difference is a 0? Why couldn't he come out and say, I'm really sorry, I couldn't do it? How dare he come out and say such a thing like this, taking his followers for fools? This is an insult to intelligence, it's taking advantage of them. Sayyidina Muhammad would never do such a thing. If he was supposed to give something that he said, I'm going to give you 50, and he didn't give 50, he would apologize. He won't say the difference is a 0 here. Here dummies, just take the 5. It's the same as a 50. Don't be silly, it's the same. Sayyidina Muhammad would never do that. Our religion is not based on cheating and being deceitful and playing with numbers and just saying the only difference is 0, playing with words as if he's, Mirza he thought he was so smart or so clever, playing with little words, saying the only difference is a 0. You can't do that in anything in life, to say the only difference is 0. Like I gave the examples. You want to buy a TV, you pay for a 50-inch TV, you receive the 5-inch TV. Well, how would you like it if the shop said to you, oh, never mind, the only difference is a 0. I'm missing 45 inches of a TV. You give me a 5-inch TV. Okay? So that's the whole point here. It's not about quality and all this business. It's about what he promised and the way he took his followers for fools. This is the point here. This is what says a lot about Mirza Ghulam's character. And that's what the speaker Muhammad Dar has failed to acknowledge. Ahmadis did not get to hear this because he just paraphrased and gave his little example. They don't know why we have a problem with this. Read the words word for word, Muhammad Dar. If you want to guide your Ahmadis properly and tell them the truth, read word for word what Mirza wrote. The next one. This is from Ruhani Khazain, volume 17, Arba'in number 4, page 458. Again, the Urdu is on screen. I am reading an English translation. Alright? So here we go. The 4 parts of my book should be returned to me, and the offered money that they are dying for should be taken from me. Now Muhammad Dar comes and says, if you're unsatisfied and all this, trying to make it out like it's a normal customer service thing going on. No, Muhammad Dar, no. Don't mislead the Ahmadis when you're telling them this stuff. These are the words that Mirza said. He said, the 4 parts of my book should be returned to me, and the offered money that they are dying for, the money that they are dying for should be taken from me. So look how disgusting Mirza Ghulam's behavior is. People are saying, look, you didn't give us the 50, can I get my money back? He says, the one you're dying for, take it. That's how Mirza Ghulam said it. This is what reflects, this is what shows us what Mirza Ghulam's personality or his character was like. This is what we look at his conduct. This is Mirza Ghulam's conduct, his behavior, and that's how we can tell what sort of person he is. Just like when we're telling people about Islam, when we tell them about Sayyidina Muhammad's conduct, the Holy Prophet, his conduct, it reflects on his character, his behavior, his honesty. Okay, Mirza Ghulam fails these tests badly. Okay, this is what we have a problem with. And you should tell the Ahmadis the truth, Muhammad Dar. If you're going to go out and make a video, just tell the truth. Why are you giving them non-factual material? And now they think, we've got answers, and you've got Ahmadis spamming this video all over Facebook. As if it's answers. It's not an answer at all. The next one. Now this is really, really interesting. This is in Sirat al-Mahdi, volume 1, page 100. Of course, the page is going to be on screen for you there, so you can read it. I'm reading English translation right now. So I'll begin. So, in the current 4 volumes of Barahin Ahmadiyya that have been published, the prefaces and footnotes are from the original period of publication, and very little of the original real book is contained in it, i.e. no more than a few pages. It can be assessed that out of the 300 proofs he had written, which is Mirza Ghulam, he had written, only 1 proof has been expressed in the printed Barahin Ahmadiyya, and that too in an incomplete manner. After the printing of these 4 parts, the publication of the following parts was stopped as a result of divine prerogative, and it is heard that even the manuscripts were for some reason burnt and lost. This is the excuse given, but also it's good evidence, because look how it tells us that out of the 300 proofs he's written, we've only got 1 there. Oh, but everything got burnt and lost. The supposed heavenly guidance that Mirza Ghulam was coming to give us, like, stuff like Yalash and Tichi and, these sort of amazing things that Mirza Ghulam thought he was adding to the beautiful and complete religion of Islam. We don't, we're not, things such as that were burnt and lost. So we've only got 1 incomplete proof. So what have we got out of these books here? What have we got out of these 5 volumes that, Muhammad Dar is saying that, that it was accomplished and the message was passed, or whatever you want to say, like the information that was required to be given to the Ahmadis was given to the Ahmadis. So the people who paid money should be happy. But we're showing you here, number 1, even without showing you this page, this evidence, if people sincerely have a good look at Mirza Ghulam's books, right? Honestly, real scholars have had a good look at his books. People who read and understand Urdu, they're not Maulvis and all this sort of stuff like you are told, like the Ahmadis are told to just hate them and think they're just all illiterate or ignorant people. No, these are sensible people. They'll tell you that what has he brought to Islam? Nothing. And I say the same thing. Especially his Arabic stuff. The Ahmadi organization tries to give you that this poetry and say, look at his standard of writing. But we show you some other Arabic, you read it and it's completely nonsensical, it's worthless. What does it do to strengthen Islam or to unite Islam or to prove to the world that Islam is true? Nothing. We don't need Mirza's writings at all because they're useless. All Mirza did was make an organization for himself. That's the only real purpose to it. I'll be moving on to my next point. Alright, the next one is the speaker Muhammad Dar calls it language barriers and words taken out of context. And I quote him saying, how could promised Messiah use a curse word if he truly was the promised Messiah? The word they refer to is Zurriyat al-Baghaya. Muhammad Dar says that the Arabic language has a lot of metaphors. He says, i.e. Abu Hurairah literally means father of cats, Abu Jahl, father of ignorance. These type of references are actually metaphoric, he says. And then he says the promised Messiah himself clarifies the definition of the word and what context in which he is referring it to. And he basically is saying that the person is a rebellious person foremost in an activity which in this case would be the activity of fighting against the truth and justice which the promised Messiah brought. Now the speaker says gives references to dictionaries that have translated the word Baghaya as foremost in an activity, which is quite this is really interesting for, again, giving misleading information to the Ahmadis. If you, Muhammad Dar, if you actually read the books of Mirza Ghulam like you said you have, you would have come across the references that I'm going to give you now. And with what face can you come on a video and tell and mislead these Ahmadis once again into letting them think that you've given them an answer to the Zurriyat al-Baghaya issue? That's very misleading and that's unjust and it's un-Islamic. So, Baghaya definitions from Mirza Ghulam's writings are as follows. First one, Rahani Khaza'in, volume 16, Khutbah Ilhamiyya, page 49. Mirza Ghulam obviously is written down. I'm giving you I'm going to give you the Urdu word, and obviously I'm going to explain in English. So Mirza Ghulam defines al-Baghaya as Bazari Orte. Now that means loose women or prostitutes. Bazari Orte. If any of you know Urdu and you're Pakistani or whatever, you know exactly when you hear someone saying Bazari Orte, that means loose women or she's a prostitute, or you know that yourself. It doesn't change, and Mirza has got it in his references on screen. Mirza Ghulam wrote this himself. He says al-Baghaya means this. Okay? The next one is from Rahani Khaza'in, volume 8, Nur al-Haq, part 1, part 1 and then it's part 163. Mirza Ghulam defines Baghaya as Kharab Orte, which means bad women. Kharab Orte, bad women. Again, if you know Urdu, you've heard this thing at least, you will know that means bad women. So he's giving you the Urdu wording for the word, the Arabic word Baghaya, and he's telling you it means bad women, Kharab Orte. And the other one, he's telling you it means Bazari Orte, loose women or prostitutes. So the reader, Muhammad Dar, the speaker, Muhammad Dar, is misleading once again the Ahmadis and giving them the impression that he is answering a major allegation that the people have against Mirza Ghulam. Once again, fear Allah, okay? You are misguiding probably thousands of Ahmadis and giving them false confidence, okay? Because you know what? You're going to make them get embarrassed in front of other people, because if they share that video with other people, as they have been doing, especially on Facebook, they're going to look stupid because they're the ones who are sharing this video. So you are making other people look stupid. Don't give them wrong information. You want to give them complete information? Give them these references. Read word for word. Tell them this is how he says he defines al-Baghaya. Mirza Ghulam defines al-Baghaya. Bazari Orte, Kharab Orte. Alright? There are 3 more references which I wasn't going to include, but I'll include them just for additional information. Now I say this very clearly, additional information, before comments start flooding in and you start telling me, oh, this is incorrect or whatever. I'm giving you this additional information. You can do with it what you want. But all I'm going to say is this is in Persian and is very similar to Arabic. So I'm thinking it's possibly what it means in Arabic. So here we've got Ruhani Khaza'in volume 16. It's page 371. It says Mirza Ghulam defines Baghaya as Zan He Zania. That's in Persian. The next one, Ruhani Khaza'in volume 16, page 4 to 8. It's in Persian again. Mirza Ghulam defines Baghaya as Zan Fahisha. Zan Fahisha. The next one again, this is Ruhani Khaza'in volume 11. It's page 282 of a book called Maktub Ahmad. Again, that's going to be on screen probably because I'm speaking so quickly. It's going to be on for a couple of seconds. But this one, Mirza Ghulam defines Baghaya as Nasl Bad Karan. Nasl Bad Karan. All these things, obviously I'll come back to the Urdu ones again. Bazari Orte, Kharab Orte, that does not mean foremost in an activity. So the speaker, Muhammad Dar, comes in, again misleading the listeners by saying the dictionary says foremost in an activity, when his own fake prophet Mirza has said Baghaya means Bazari Orte and Kharab Orte. Kharab Orte does not mean foremost in an activity. So when you see a woman if you go to Karachi or any city in Pakistan, and someone says Bazari Orte to this woman standing on a street corner at 2 a.m. in the morning wearing some skimpy clothes, it doesn't mean that she's foremost in an activity. Yes, she's foremost in the prostitution activity. That's true. Because Bazari Orte means loose women or prostitutes. It does not mean foremost in an activity. So again, the speaker misleading the Ahmadis, and Ahmadis think they've got answers. Copy and paste, copy and paste. Next point. So dealing with this point here, the speaker Muhammad Dars, he's called this point, this section of his video, he says, do not call him a disbeliever, for if he believed in Allah, you have become a disbeliever. And I quote him as saying, some of these mullahs and mulvis say that the promised Messiah declared all the Muslims as kafirs, and that's not the case. That's not true at all. End of quote. Now, I'm going to show you in a minute or two, I'm going to read quotes from Ahmadiyya books, from authentic books, which you're going to see on screen. So Muhammad Dar, again, you are misleading the Ahmadis. Stop lying to these people. And if you're not lying, well then you don't know enough. So how can you make such a video and misguide them because you don't know enough? You did not read Mirza's books if this is what you are saying. Okay, because you will see in a minute or two when I put it on screen. So Muhammad also, he says what? He says for 12 years, Mirza Ghulam kept telling the Maulvis and Mullahs to stop calling him a kafir and dajjal. He kept presenting the hadith of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, to them. And he said, he can't call someone who recites the kalima a kafir. But I'm reminding you of the hadith which says that if you call somebody who is a believer a disbeliever, then you end up calling yourself a disbeliever. So after 12 years, Mirza Ghulam, wrote a fatwa based on the Prophet's hadith. Now that, be it as it may, if you wanna present that, but you're misleading the Ahmadis here, okay? The question is, did Mirza Ghulam regard the other Muslims as kafir or not? Well, I will read quotes now to prove to you that yes, all other Muslims were kafir. And I'll tell you why, based on Mirza's own reasoning from his own books, your Ahmadiyya organization's books. Okay? You'll see it on screen now. This is from Tadhkira, English Tadhkira, page 346. God Almighty has conveyed it to me that every person to whom my call is conveyed and who does not accept me is not a Muslim and is accountable to God for his default. God Almighty has conveyed it to me that every person to whom my call is conveyed and who does not accept me is not a Muslim. Who does not accept me is not a Muslim. Who does not accept me is not a Muslim. You reject Mirza, you're not a Muslim. This is what this quote is saying. This is what Mirza Ghulam has said. Okay? You can try your best to get out of it and tell me that, oh, this is a revelation. Well, that's the revelation from Shaitan then, isn't it? Why have you got it in your books for? Why is your so-called prophet who's coming to guide people, guide Muslims and re-guide them because supposedly they lost their way? How can he leave this in his books to further add mud and confuse everything? So your prophet, your so-called prophet Mirza, fake prophet Mirza, he's saying that anyone who does not accept him is not a Muslim. If you're not a Muslim, you're a kafir. Not a Muslim means you are a kafir. Okay? So stop misleading the Ahmadis and giving them all this false hope. Tell them the truth. The next quote you'll see on screen, I'm reading English translation. It's from Kalimat al-Fasl, page 110. Mirza Bashir Ahmad M.A., the one who's got the funny name which he doesn't deserve, Qamar al-Anbiya. He does not deserve that. I don't know what is that. Just give anyone any title. I'm the king of the universe. Just give me that title. It's just stupid. Anyway, here's the quote. So, bearing in mind this verse, any person who believes in Musa alayhi salam, but does not believe in Isa alayhi salam, or believes in Isa alayhi salam, but does not believe in Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or believes in Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but does not believe in Mirza Ghulam, Masih Ma'ud, he is not only kafir, but a solid kafir, pakka kafir, and outside the circle of Islam. Or believes in Muhammad ﷺ but does not believe in Masih Ma'ud, Mirza Ghulam, he is not only kafir but a pakka kafir, a solid kafir, and is outside the circle of Islam. So just in case your missionaries or murabbis, whoever are giving you this information, try to say to you, oh no, ignore Tadhkira, what about Kalimat al-Fasl, written by Mirza Bashir Ahmad M.A., Qamar al-Anbiya. Qamar al-Anbiya. He's got this title, but you're going to tell me this quote is invalid. No, it's not invalid. This quote is telling you right here, if you do not accept Mirza, you are kafir. You're pakka kafir. You're not just a rejecter, you're outside of Islam. So you reject Mirza, you are not only a kafir, but a pakka kafir and outside the circle of Islam. Again, message to Muhammad Dar. You made this video, spammed it everywhere, misguided and misled so many Ahmadis. You're making them make a fool of themselves. My next point coming up. The next point we've got where it says that the speaker says, is it okay to make fun of a person's illnesses? And he says that Mirza's books are not the work of a madman. He's phrasing it, he's making his own, he's taking the conversation the way he wants to take it. People not many people said he's just a madman. Most people just think he's a liar, a very cunning and intelligent liar. So I don't know why you're taking it down to madman route. A cunning liar can still write books. That's the whole point of being cunning. And the speaker again, Muhammad Dar, he says, he mentioned the hadith of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where it says that someone who suffers from plague or stomach diseases or drowns, etc., is considered a martyr. Now, if the speaker is mentioning that, okay, yeah, this is considered a martyr, then why did Mirza wish plague and cholera on his opponents? Did Mirza want his opponents to be martyrs, to be shuhada? Really? How is that disgracing them? He was wishing plague and cholera on them so it's a symbol to people to say that Allah has disgraced them. But then you mentioned this hadith, and the funny thing is, Mirza Ghulam is the one who died from this cholera. Like we said many times, he died from profuse. He had so much diarrhea that his body became so dehydrated, and because it became so dehydrated, he ended up dying. But it's from the diarrhea. That's the dehydration happened in that way. It didn't happen because he wasn't drinking enough water. And the speaker, Muhammad Dar, he also reads out names of people who praised Mirza Ghulam's works. And this is like academic dishonesty, to use a term that a colleague of mine, a good friend of mine, used. This is academic dishonesty because nobody would praise Mirza Ghulam after knowing what his claims were. After his claims that came in later on in his life, in his later books, claims such as being the second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, claims such as his coming being stronger, more complete, more fierce than the coming of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, claims that Allah's name is Yalash, and an angel Tichi, and other prophecies that are very comical. They sound like they're very funny. They sound like a joke. These people would never praise him. They'd actually tell him, you're not Muslim for what you're saying. So that's dishonest to quote or to mention that the names of other people who praised Mirza Ghulam, because they praised him before he made outrageous claims and outrageous statements that are un-Islamic and unacceptable. So you can't say that, for example, someone who's been praised so much prior to having been convicted of a dishonest, of being like a major con man. Let's say someone is like in the community, everyone thought he's a very honest person, and they find out that he's had a charity through which he's been stealing money for many, many, many years. You can't come after and say, oh, this guy was so honest, look, how come all these people said he's honest? He just got proved with serious, incontrovertible evidence that he's a thief for many years. It's not a one instance, it's not a mistake. He's been stealing money for years and years and years. So now you know he's a thief now. So you know he's a liar, he's dishonest. You can't say 10 years ago people used to praise him. This is what the speaker, Muhammad Dar, is, and this isn't a comparative example. It's a similar sort of thing. You can't say that people were saying good things about Mirza Ghulam before, but then afterwards they started saying that this man's, he's bad or he's crazy or he's a liar or whatever. You can't bring those statements because they have seen what Mirza's writings were afterwards, and they've said, oh my God, we were mistaken. It's the same thing with me, myself. People can't say, oh, this person used to be an Ahmadi, how can they say such things? He used to be an Ahmadi, and no, but now I found out the truth. So it's irrelevant that I used to be an Ahmadi. It's irrelevant that I said that I thought Ahmadi was true before. It's irrelevant. What is the final thing? So the speaker is also saying that, he said, you pick up any one of his books and you just read it. You will clearly see that this is a man with divine intellect inspired into him, with amazing writing skills. And I think the speaker, I think you should read all his books, genuinely, because I really believe, from what you've said, and as I've said it many times, I don't think you've read certain parts of his books, if maybe even some of his books that you haven't read. So, you should check that out first before making such, giving Mirza Ghulam so much credit. And the speaker also says it's really unfortunate and sad that they're making fun of someone's illness who's done great service to Islam. Now, again, I think I touched on this point a couple of minutes ago. Mirza Ghulam wished illnesses such as cholera, plague, he wished his enemies to be stricken by this. Now, he did it to them as well. So, for you to say it's really unfortunate and sad that they're making fun of someone's illness, well, how come Mirza wanted the other people to get these illnesses? How come he wanted to make sure the other people got these illnesses, and he's the one who ended up dying from it? So it's a double-edged thing. You can't just one way say, oh, how can you say that about me? But Mirza's saying it about them. And the next point now is, okay, so the next one, agent or enemy of the British, the speaker Muhammad Dar, he says this allegation of promised Messiah and his organization is planted by the British. Well, first of all, that's quite incorrect in many instances, because we who've read so many things, we don't even say that he was planted, but we definitely say that he wanted to do favors for them, he wanted to work for them, he offered his services to them. That's what we firmly believe, because we don't have solid evidence that says that the British planted him there as a false prophet. Okay, so again, the speaker is like phrasing or posing the sort of question the way he wants to do it, the way the organization probably told him to do it, and that's, we've never said that he's just planted, but we definitely know that he wanted to get favors from them, and we've got so much evidence to show that from his writings in other videos. The speaker is I'm very frustrated with the speaker, actually, the way he keeps saying they are their own scholars. You can't paint the whole of Islam, Muhammad Dar, you cannot paint the whole of Islam with a couple of scholars from Pakistan or from India. You can't do that, okay? Or one scholar from any other country. You can't say your scholars are doing this. Because, we are here, we could do that all day long about your so-called scholars that have come from your fake version of Islam. You've got your own little schools, your own madrasa, whatever you call it, I don't know, your own little colleges. You're not really an Islamic organization, because your founder, Mirza Ghulam, was not a Muslim. So, you sit there offending the other scholars and other Muslims as well by trying to make it out that they are all to be represented by one Maulvi or one Mullah or something. And especially, it's very small-minded to try to, put the sheikhs or whatever from India and try and make it out as if they represent all the Muslims. I've got another quote here from the speaker, Muhammad Dar, saying that another thing that they talk about is that the Promised Messiah said positive things about the British government. And he says they are overlooking all the historical facts. What historical facts are you talking about that they're overlooking? There's nothing being overlooked. The British were in India for economic gain and to increase the Queen's domain. Okay? For economic gain and to increase the Queen's domain, i.e. the amount of land that is under the British Empire. The Queen or the King, whoever's the relevant leader of of Britain, it was there. This whole dominating India is mainly for economic interest, but also to conquer and have that land, and also for strategic interest, because it was near China as well. So they're not there to give religious freedom. They're not there to spread good. They're there to spread their version of life so that they can control the Indians. They don't want the Indian people to live as they are, because the British saw how successful India and China were. They saw that they had their GDP was unbelievable. We've got a video with specific data in other videos. But their GDP, their economic power was so high, and the British came and invaded them. Alright? So there's no benefit. The British came in to take what they can and take it back to England. Now the British, while they were there, because they're there for so many years, they're like, okay, well, let's build a couple of things here and there, which actually helps them. Like building a railroad, it helps them to transport their soldiers, to transport their employees. The Indians were still under their boot. There were only a handful of Indians who had high positions. The Indians are still like slaves there. Okay, so this is something that you have to realize. The British were the biggest opium traders on the planet at that time when they controlled India, and we've got the data again in another video. You know, our other videos they're called Mirza Ghulam's Love for the Unjust British Rule in India. Another one is called Mirza Spy Table, and another one is called Chanda for British Soldiers in Transvaal. You'll see it under our video list on YouTube. You'll see these videos there where we actually give details, we give pages, we give historical facts, we give data from the British Parliament's data, the British government's data. We put it on screen for you. We're not just going by hearsay. We're not just saying, oh, we think so, they must have done that. No, we've got actual evidence there. It's more than what the Ahmadiyya organization tell you. They just tell you, oh, religious freedom. What religious freedom? The British were in India. One major thing they did was divide and conquer. They divided the Indians up so that they can conquer them, because they didn't want Indians to be one hand, because Britain would not be able to control India if all the Indians are together, of all different religions. Alright? So what did they do? And we've got it in one of our videos. They played off the Hindus, the Muslims and the Sikhs and the Buddhists all against each other. They even referred to the Hindus as mild-mannered and taxable. That's how much the British, they were so calculated when they were in control of Britain. They were so calculated, they would sit and look at every single type of person and say, how do we control these people? They were very meticulous in their planning. The British were not there to spread religious freedom. They didn't help Islam in any way when they were there. So there's no reason for them, because they're under the Church of England. They're Christian, with all due respect, of course, they're Christian, but they were not interested in Islam getting spread. So this is something that is very frustrating when I hear the speakers saying they are overlooking all the historical facts. We are the ones who present historical facts in our videos. Your Ahmadiyya organization does not present proper historical facts. They just say stuff. We present government records. We present historical records. What does Ahmadiyya organization present? They just tell you some words so that you can shut up and stop doubting Mirza Ghulam. That's all they want you to do, and that's what you're telling the Ahmadis to do. That's why I'm very frustrated about this, because the speaker Muhammad Dar, if you want to stay blinded, Muhammad Dar, you stay blinded, but you are misleading thousands upon thousands of young Ahmadis who are listening to your video and watching it, thinking that, oh, they hear you saying stuff like they are overlooking all historical facts. You make these Ahmadis start thinking that, oh yeah, we are the correct group, and Mirza Ghulam was definitely a Muslim, he's definitely the promised Messiah and all this stuff. You're misleading people, you're misguiding people. This is wrong. Next thing that the speaker says, he says, if promised Messiah was planted by the British, why is it so that he has attacked the core of British government, which was their religion? And he did that by declaring the religion of Christianity as the Antichrist, the Dajjal. He told the Christians that their God is dead, i.e. Jesus. Alright, now, he also says the promised Messiah invited the Queen of England to Islam. Now, to the speaker Muhammad Dar and to your organization, I absolutely declare a challenge upon you to show me a letter that Mirza Ghulam wrote to the British government where he actually says that your religion is wrong, and that you actually are following complete falsehood. Okay? He didn't do that. We know he didn't do that. We've seen the way he used to write the letters to the officials. He was a sycophant. He's licking their boots. There's even another term that I could say which you guys probably know, but I'm not going to say it because I'm trying to be less. I don't want to be very offensive, because I don't want to alienate Ahmadis who are listening to this video. Alright? But he was a sycophant. He would write and lick their boots, basically. He's not going to say to them that you are the religion of Christianity is basically the Antichrist. He's not going to say that to them in the letter. He may have said it in some little discreet way so that they don't find out that he said that, because his whole objective was to build up a good relationship with the British government so he can gain favours. And this is why, again, if you look in our videos, you'll see that he used to say, oh, my father gave 50 riders and 50 horses at the time of the 1857 so-called rebellion in India. He wrote it over 11 times, telling the British, this is how much we're on your side. This is how much we're on your side. He's not going to come and say that your religion is the Antichrist. Alright, and I can guarantee that you don't have that, because I would have seen that letter if it was in your books. There is no such thing. And now, and you're going to see on screen a reference where Mirza claims that Queen Victoria chooses Islam in her heart. Well, again, what a liar Mirza Ghulam is. And how does a liar tell you something? Oh, so-and-so said it in their heart, or God told me. There's no actual evidence from that person to say that they choose Islam or that they favor Islam. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you can just make up anything you want, just say it's in their heart. Oh, actually so-and-so. People could say about me, you know what? Actually Osama Sayyid in his heart is an Ahmadi. Where's the evidence to show that an Ahmadi? You just say anything you want. You can make any claim about anyone. You know, you did the same thing. There's something similar about Abdullah Atam where they said, oh, in his heart he believes or something like that, but outwardly he's pretending to be Christian. This is just to trick the Ahmadis. This is not right. It's completely unjust. It only could work on illiterate people. It does not work on intelligent, educated people. It would not work on them. You know, we've also got the speaker states that Mirza Ghulam was appreciative of the good things about the British government. You know, again, we're going to hear the same thing about religious freedom. What religious freedom? The religious freedom that they're mentioning is a way, if you use your brain, this was a way to increase the division between the Indians, alright? It's a way to control them even more. By saying, oh, look, we're going to respect every single one of you. So every single one of you separate. All of you go to different temples, different mosques. None of you are united. You have nothing in common. What's the net achievement here? The British get to divide you even more, control you. It doesn't matter that you're going to say, oh, under the Sikh rule that Muslims were being tortured and blah, blah, blah. This happened throughout the centuries. Sikh rule, not Sikh rule, happened everywhere. Everywhere where Islam spread, Muslims faced persecution in some way. But it doesn't mean you need to bring some colonialist to come and take over your whole economy, destroy your economy, and then just leave the country when there's nothing left and be the biggest opium traders that we've ever heard of officially, on record. You know, you've also got the Mirza's request for Chanda for the Transvaal soldiers, the British soldiers who were in the Transvaal in South Africa fighting so that they can steal diamonds and gold from that area, to control the area, because they knew it had a lot of diamonds and gold. Mirza Ghulam went and made a request for Chanda, donations, for the thieving colonialist British soldiers who were there to take gold and diamonds. He actually went to collect Chanda for thieves. That's how much your so-called prophet of Allah is supposed to be a just man. That's how much he was unjust and how much he was not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absolutely not. And again, I've already mentioned that he played off the British, while they were in India, they played off the Muslims, the Hindus and the Buddhists and even the Sikhs against each other. The British wanted to make sure that the Indians would not say, hey, let's put our religious differences aside, we all love India. Let's kick out these invaders, the British invaders, let's kick them out. The British had to make sure this does not happen, that this did not happen. You know, especially the example of the 1857 so-called rebellion, you know, which resulted in so many people, not just Muslims. That was a nationalist movement, by the way. It wasn't led by the Muslims. Just so everyone who's listening can understand that. It wasn't led by the Muslims. India has Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims and Buddhists. And the people who rebelled, they were of all those religions. They just simply did not want to be dominated anymore by these unjust colonialists who had their boot on top of the Indian people's head, like throughout their rule of India. You know, the British would come there and have their own, they'd walk around and as if they're superior and all this stuff. And that's why some Indians, they had like inferiority complexes and they didn't feel good enough. Why? Why you don't feel good enough? That's your country. You're the king in your country. How can a foreigner come and make you feel like any less of a person? Anyway, the next point. Okay, so the next one is Muhammadi Begum. And the speaker, Muhammad Dar, says, I investigated this whole thing and what I found was something completely opposite. He says this whole prophecy is actually not around Muhammadi Begum at all. I think the center of this whole event is actually a man named Mirza Ahmad Beg, who was the father of Muhammadi Begum. What had happened was that Mirza Ahmad Beg had become atheist. Now, the first point I'm going to say is, if Ahmad Beg had become atheist, then why did Muhammadi Begum and her husband have had to repent? Why did they have to repent for, if only that man had become atheist? Now I'm bringing it to the speaker, Muhammad Dar. I'm bringing it to you straight, Muhammad Dar. listen to what you just said there, that Ahmed Beg became atheist, then why would his daughter and her husband, think about it, someone's father became atheist, why would his daughter and her husband now, why would they have to be the ones who are repenting? This is complete false. The reason is that Mirza Ghulam simply wanted to marry this fresh young girl who was probably beautiful, and obviously she's young, much younger than Mirza Ghulam. And this was only like 100-something years ago. It's not like it was 1,000 years ago or something like that. You know, it's completely... This girl did not want to marry him. You're free to choose who you want to marry. She did not agree to it, and Mirza Ghulam wanted to keep forcing it. He wanted to pretend that it's a prophecy from God, and there's an importance, there's a religious aspect to it. There's nothing to do with Allah at all. This was Mirza Ghulam who wanted to marry this girl, and he came out with all these lies which are godly, sort of as if they're divine rulings and decisions as to compel Ahmed Beg to let Mirza marry Muhammadi Begum. Mirza even went as far as to say he even threatened to divorce his wife and disown his sons if the marriage between if Muhammadi Begum got married to, I believe his name is Sultan Ahmed, the one who she married. Now you tell me again, listen to this. Mirza Ghulam, he threatened to divorce his wife and disown his sons. Why would he do that if it's simply Ahmed Beg who'd become atheist? Who on this planet would do such a stupid thing? Divorce your own wife because that man over there became atheist? What kind of ridiculousness is this? That's because that's not the reason. That's the incorrect reason. And again, I'm very frustrated with the speaker, Muhammad Dar, because honestly, you claim that you've read all the books, you claim that I've read all this stuff, but what you're coming out with is contrary to what is in the books of the Ahmadiyya organization. And instead of letting the Ahmadiyya organization make a fool out of you, you should have checked thoroughly and read everything before you took whatever they gave you and you made it into a 2-hour-long video so you can confuse these innocent Ahmadis who are really trusting you, Muhammad Dar. The listeners, the Ahmadis who are listening to your videos, they're really trusting you. Because I know the level of trust that the Ahmadis have. They really sincerely have zero doubt in Mirza Ghulam, and they have zero doubt in anyone who says he's Ahmadi, who is doing tabligh or who is doing something to somehow prove the truthfulness of Mirza Ghulam. I know that they trust these people like yourself. They trust you blindly, and you are deceiving them. Tell them the truth. If you want to tell them, read from Mirza's writings, read from the Ahmadiyya publications, read from it. Tell them the truth. But to go and say such a hideous thing that the reason is that Muhammadi Begum's father was atheist, and that's why Mirza had to marry her, and that's why Mirza carried on issuing all sorts of threats and making all these so-called prophecies about them, and it carried on chasing Muhammadi Begum even after she got married. And Mirza Ghulam had dreams about her naked as well. What is this? All of this because her father became atheist? That's a lie. That's a lie. I don't know who told you, Muhammad. I don't know who told you this lie. It's not because Ahmed Beg became atheist. Fear Allah and say the truth. Fear Allah. At least if you don't know what you're talking about, then say I'm not sure. Don't say I've read all the books and they and all this rubbish. This is the normal confidence trick that we are so familiar with. Everyone who's left Ahmadiyya knows this confidence trick. That Ahmadi spokespeople, anyone, you don't have to be a missionary, any Ahmadi who comes out public and starts talking, it's a confidence trick where you sit there saying they don't understand Quran, they don't know Islam, they look at this mullah, he's representative of all the Muslims, they have no idea, they. Everything is they, them, there. It's a confidence trick. You try to fool your Ahmadi followers to make them feel that the other Muslims are so confused. And look at us Ahmadis, we're the ones who are we're so aware of everything and we understand Islam, they don't. It's a confidence trick. Based on what are you making this claim? Based on what? It's just a confidence trick. I'm going to read now from Majmu' Ishtiharat volume 1 page 221. Now the whole thing, if you want to read the whole thing, is page 219 to page 221. But what I'm going to read for you, the key point for the listeners, is from page 221. Obviously it's in Urdu, I'm going to read it in English now. And I'm reading it, the translation maybe it doesn't sound grammatically correct, is because it's going from Urdu to English. So sometimes things are stated in Urdu that cannot be stated perfectly in English. So I'm going to start now. Accordingly, on today's date, 2nd of May 1891, I make it clear to the people through this advert that if these people do not stop their decision and the plan that they are making in regards to that girl, Muhammadi Begum, and her nikah, which these people have taken in their own hand, if they do not abolish it, and if they do not cancel the plan they have made for her nikah with another person, and she is married to that same person, then on the same day as the nikah, Sultan Ahmed will be disinherited. And on that same day, his mother will be divorced by me. And if his brother Fazl Ahmed, who is married to Mirza Ahmed Beg's niece, does not divorce his wife upon hearing the news of the nikah, then he too will be disinherited. So you see, dear Ahmadi listeners, I hope many Ahmadi listeners one day will hear this. Maybe you won't hear it at the time it's uploaded. Maybe you hear it a few years from today. I hope you can understand how you're being lied to by this speaker, Muhammad Dar. He's either lying or he's completely misinformed. Either way, you're being deceived. Intentionally or unintentionally, he's deceiving you. How can it be that Mirza is going to divorce his own wife, disinherit two of his sons, just because the father of Muhammadi Begum, Ahmed Beg, became atheist? Even if he was saying stuff against Islam, why would you have to threaten to divorce your own wife? What did your own wife do? What's your own wife got to do with other people not following Islam? This is to prove to you that this is a false reason, it's a lie. Again, the whole reason was that Mirza Ghulam wanted to marry this girl, and that is it. That is it. There's no two ways about it. Moving on to the next point now. So on to the next one. A mubahala is initiated only when the opponent agrees and accepts the conditions. The speaker Muhammad Dar says, again, when I investigated this, I found total opposite, because the facts as documented and the things that Sana'ullah Amritsari said in his own books as a response to the challenge, they are telling a totally different story. Now, first thing is that yes, mubahalas had been issued previously. No one's denying that. They were issued previously. There was communication back and forth between Mirza and Sana'ullah Amritsari, right? And then the speaker Muhammad Dar says the challenge wasn't accepted. The condition was that Amritsari has to accept the challenge. Now, the problem with this is that, again, the speaker Muhammad Dar is completely unaware of a document, if we can call it that, called Akhari Faisala, the final verdict or the final decision. Akhari Faisala is a dua. It's not a mubahala. It does not require acceptance. It's a dua, it's a prayer to Allah. Okay? And I'm going to read the English translation of Akhari Faisala. This is in Majmu'a Ishtiharat, Volume 3, page 578 to 580. And the date of it is 15 April 1907. Around a year before Mirza died. Now, here's the English translation. This is what Mirza Ghulam wrote to Sana'ullah Amritsari. He said, to Maulvi Sana'ullah Sahib, salam on those who follow guidance. For some time, my rejection and disapproval has been going on in your magazine, Ahli Hadith. You always refer to me as accursed, liar, dajjal, mutinous, and you publicize to the world regarding me that this person is a fabricator and a liar and a dajjal, and this person's claim of being Masih Maw'ud is a fabrication. I have suffered a lot of pain from you, and I kept exhibiting patience. But because I see that I have been commissioned to spread truth, and you are preventing people from coming to me due to your slanders against me, and you refer to me with swearing and slanders and in such words that there are no words harsher. And if I am such a liar and fabricator as you have oftentimes referred to me, as in each of your publications, then I will be destroyed in your lifetime. I will be destroyed in your lifetime, because I know that a fabricator and liar does not have a long lifespan, and in the end, after degradation and anguish, he becomes destroyed in the lifetime of his staunch opponents. And it is better for him to be destroyed so he does not misguide God's people. And if I am not a liar and fabricator, and I am honored by God's dialogue and address, and am Masih Ma'ud, then with the grace of God I am hopeful that according to the practice of Allah, you will not escape from the punishment received by liars. Hence, if you are not inflicted with such punishment, which is not from the hands of human beings, but is only in the hands of Allah, like plague or cholera or such illness in my lifetime, then I am not from God Almighty. This is not a prophecy on the basis of any revelation or inspiration, but is merely a verdict which I have asked from God in the form of a prayer. And I pray to God that, O my Master, Basir and Qadir, who is Alim and Khabir, and who is aware of the condition of my heart, if this claim of being Masih Ma'ud is from my own nafs, or my own mind, and if I am corrupt and a liar in your eyes, and if I forge lies against you day and night, then O my beloved Master, I humbly pray to you that you destroy me in the lifetime of Maulvi Sana'ullah Sahib, and make my death a source of happiness for him and his Jam'at. Ameen. But, O my completely truthful God, if Maulvi Sana'ullah is not truthful in the slanders he attributes to me, then I humbly pray to you to annihilate him in my lifetime, but not from the hands of human beings, in fact from plague or cholera or such diseases, with the exception of such a case that he openly and face to face in front of me and my Jama'at repents from his swearing and bad language, which he considers as obligatory and always hurts me. Ameen, O Lord of the worlds. I have been tortured by him a lot, and I have remained patient. But now I see that his slanders have surpassed the limit. He considers me worse than those thieves and dacoits whose presence in the world is extremely harmful. And in his slanders, he didn't even act on the verse, and you'll see it, and he considered me worse than everyone in the world. And it has been spread in far and wide countries that this person is in reality an illustrator and a marauder and a liar and an innovator and an extremely low-class, abominable person. If they had not cast bad accusations against the speakers of truth, then I would have remained patient against these slanders. But I see that Maulvi Sana'ullah wishes to use these slanders to annihilate my continuance, and he wishes to dismantle the building which you, O my Master, and the one who has sent me have created with your own hand. Because of this, I hold on to your sanctity and your mercy, and I supplicate to you to give the true verdict between me and Sana'ullah, and he who in your view is indeed the liar, to be taken from this world in the lifetime of the truthful one, or for him to be indulged in any other calamity which is similar to death. O my beloved Master, do just that. Ameen. In the end, I request Maulvi Sahib to publish this article in his magazine, and he may write whatever he wishes underneath it. Now the verdict is in God's hands. Now that was very, very long, but Alhamdulillah, for once, Mirza Ghulam's writings, it's actually quite clear what he's saying there. He clearly states, may the liar die before the truthful person. May the liar die before the truthful person. So may the liar out of Mirza Ghulam and Sana'ullah Amritsari die first. The liar out of these two people die first. This is what Mirza Ghulam prays to Allah for. It's not a mubahala. It is not a mubahala. It's not a challenge. It does not require acceptance by the other party, Sana'ullah Amritsari. There is no acceptance required by Sana'ullah Amritsari because it is a dua to God. Mirza Ghulam is asking God, oh God, please make the liar die first. make the liar die first. Sana'ullah Amritsari outlived Mirza Ghulam for so many years. It does not matter what happened to Sana'ullah Amritsari. It doesn't matter what happened to his Jamaat. It does not matter. The point is, your so-called Prophet Mirza, your so-called Mahdi, promised Messiah, second of coming of Jesus, second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made this dua. He created this situation, and he's the one who died first. No acceptance, no technicality can get him out of this. Mirza stated this in 1907, as I've mentioned, and he's the one who died first. Now I hope the dear Ahmadis who are listening, please trust me when I'm telling you. I'm not lying to you. You're going to see the writing on the page. Do not trust this person who's speaking, Muhammad Dar, and do not trust your missionaries if they're going to tell you something else. Get the page, read it for yourself. Go and find someone who knows Urdu. If you don't know how to read Urdu, get someone who knows Urdu properly and find out for yourself who is saying the truth. Is Osama Sayyid lying to you right now? Or is it the Ahmadiyya organization who's lying to you by misleading you and hiding pertinent information and trying to confuse you by saying, oh no, it was a mubahala and there was no acceptance. Why didn't they talk about Akhiri Faisala? This is a key thing right here. Now, you know, the speaker says, Muhammad Dar, the speaker says, they try to say that Mirza died of cholera. Now, what do you mean they tried to say? This is not an allegation. This is a fact. You're going to have it on screen. You will have it on screen. Mirza Ghulam died of severe diarrhea. Alright? The severe diarrhea caused his body to lose a lot of water. So much water, obviously it's called dehydration when you lose so much water, that his body or his organs could not function anymore. So he died. And that diarrhea was caused by cholera, because cholera creates profuse diarrhea and vomiting, and that's how Mirza Ghulam died. He died while having diarrhea and throwing up, vomiting, and he ended up losing so much water from his body, became so dehydrated, his body could not handle it, his organs stopped, and he died. So Mirza Ghulam died of cholera. Again, the speaker Muhammad Dar, say the truth to your Ahmadis, because no one really is listening to your video who's not an Ahmadi. Normal Muslims will not pay attention, because the way you go about your video, you play this whole confidence trick of saying they about the Muslims and them and they, and trying to make it out like it's you, true Islam Ahmadiyya, versus the whole of the Muslims. So they, them, the misguided ones, right? You're playing a confidence trick here. Now, for your own sake, please step off that confidence, step off that, you know, I don't want to call you arrogant, but you are coming across as an arrogant person because you're saying they, and where's your evidence? Where's your evidence, Muhammad Dar? I'm here presenting you evidence on the video for to guide people, not to misguide people. You're here to misguide people. You're here to make sure these Ahmadi youngsters say, oh yeah, thank God, I haven't got any more doubts about Ahmadiyya. I really believe that Mirza Ghulam is the Mahdi and the promised Messiah. I really believe that. Just from your video that is misguiding. If you want to make a video and you want to be and claim that you're being honest, be honest then. Show Mirza's writings, show Ahmadiyya original writings, and be fair with what you're saying. Don't present, for example, some evidence from Mirza's writings from the 1880s when he wrote something that totally contradicts it in the 1890s or the 1900s. So be fair. Now, the speaker, Muhammad Dar, also says, so conclusively it was Sana'ullah Amritsari who lost the challenge, because based on his own conditions he outlived the promised Messiah, and also he died a death full of distress, disappointment and sadness. Okay? None of his works are ever quoted anywhere in the world, in the Islamic world. No one refers to him as anyone of significant importance. Well, I don't have any affiliation to Sana'ullah Amritsari, but I'll tell you, Muhammad Dar and your Ahmadiyya organization, what people think of Mirza Ghulam. They think this man was either a liar or he was completely deluded. Maybe he's too high because he used to smoke his opium and he used to drink arak, which is a high concentration alcoholic drink. Now, that's what Mirza Ghulam's remembered as. That's what people know of Mirza Ghulam in the Muslim world. So when you're trying to make it out that Amritsari, I don't care about Amritsari, by the way. I have no affiliation to this man. I've got nothing to do with him. We're just trying to prove a point here, that Mirza Ghulam lied. Alright? He's a liar, severely deluded guy. Pick anyone. He's wrong, and that's the whole point. So you trying to make it out that, oh, look at this Amritsari, he died a life of death and disappointment. Mirza Ghulam, not only is he remembered so badly, and his organization is rightfully called non-Muslim because of Mirza Ghulam's beliefs, because of his writings that show this man has left Islam, but Mirza Ghulam himself, look at the way he died. Like I just said a few minutes ago, a shameful, painful, severely painful death that he was wishing on Amritsari. Now this is a key point you have to remember, all listeners have to remember this. Mirza Ghulam was wishing the very death that he died by, he was wishing that on Amritsari. So look at the irony. Once again, Mirza Ghulam died before him, and Mirza Ghulam is the one who died of that very illness that he wished on Amritsari. So that brings us to the end of that point. Moving on to the next point. So the next one, a graveyard to honor the righteous. What's wrong with that? Now, the funny thing about this is that, from what I understand, is that the speaker, Muhammad Dar, was an ordinary Muslim before. And, surely you've got an idea that this is a complete innovation, what Mirza Ghulam has done. Now, Mirza Ghulam, in Islam, we don't have this compulsory, we don't have people to come and say, okay, if you sign up to this scheme, you'll get buried in this beautiful graveyard, but you have to give us at least 10% or up to 33%, which is a third of all your wealth. We do not have this sort of thing, and how can it be? How can it be that these people, only when they give this money, you call it sacrifice, whatever, because even a rich person can give that money, and it doesn't mean that they're righteous people, it just means that they could afford it. Even, okay, a poor person who has some money and sacrifice, it still does not mean that that poor person is a righteous human being. It just means that in front of your organization, he gave all this money, and he gets to be buried in that graveyard, your Bahishti Maqbara. What about the street sweeper? What about the poor guy who he's been working all his life, but has never had the opportunity to make a decent amount of money? And let's say most of his money was just spent on just feeding himself, maybe if he's married, feed his wife, maybe to help his child go to school. He does not have that much money. He cannot give you much money. Let's say he doesn't sign up to this, but he's such a pious man. Where does he go? He does not get buried in Bahishti Maqbara, and you know it. And your organization knows it. Your organization say that if you don't pay all the money you're owing, you're not getting buried in this Maqbara. That's how much your organization, Ahmadiyya organization, centered around money, but the followers are fooled into thinking, no, they're not about money, because look, they do charitable things, they give us free food and all this sort of stuff. It's your money at the end of the day. All of you over the century, over the decades, have been contributing your money that they spend back on you. So, you're sitting there thinking that they're doing some amazing thing and they're spending all the money back. It's your money. It's your money to begin with. So this is, the speaker, Muhammad Dar, says he was told that this is a graveyard where people of heaven will be buried who fulfill the following conditions. Those who extraordinarily excel in righteousness according to Quran and Sunnah, and one who makes extraordinary financial sacrifices, 1/10, so 10% to a third, 33% of their money. Now this is so funny because, number one, an Ahmadi who knows Mirza's writings and follows Mirza's writings, well, you're not following the Quran and Sunnah anyway. You're following non-Islamic belief right there. So you're not even excelling anyway in Islam because you're not following Islam. You can't excel in a religion if your beliefs have taken you outside of that religion. But the second thing is that it's all centered around money. So again, it says that the people of heaven will be buried in there just because they give 10% or 33%. Now, this is such a serious innovation, and I'm aware that quite a lot of Ahmadis are not aware that it's a serious innovation. They don't realize, because in the Ahmadiyya organization, myself and many people who were born into it, you can ask these people and tell them how many times were the Ahmadis reminded to pay their zakat. A pillar of Islam, zakat. How many times were they reminded to pay that? Most people will tell you, I don't think we've ever been reminded, or we heard it once or something. But how many times have they been told to pay chanda? All sorts of different chandas. How many times? Every meeting, at least once a month, everyone is reminded to pay that chanda money, which is to your organization. It's not for the cause of Islam. It's not at all for the cause of Islam. And to take such a huge amount of money. And then look at the corruptness of Mirza Ghulam here. In the book, The Will, he says that God has made an exception in my case and the case of my wife and children. All other men and women must comply with these conditions, and whoever objects will be a hypocrite. So Mirza Ghulam's family and himself are exempt from giving this 10% to 33%, but they're not hypocrites. But everyone else who doesn't give it, they're hypocrites. What kind of stupid double standards is that? Unbelievable double standards. And when you bear it in mind, knowing that this man was not from Allah anyway as well, for him to say such an arrogant thing and give protection to his own family, preferential treatment to his own family, but yet everyone else is a hypocrite who's got a problem with paying money. The thing I heard so many times in the Ahmadiyya organization by people like Murabbis and whatever missionaries, whatever you want to call them, is that they say that the main thing that keeps hypocritical people from joining Ahmadiyya is the financial sacrifice. What nonsense is that? People will probably find out that Ahmadiyya is a pile of nonsense, so why should they give so much money to a pile of nonsense? They'd rather give it directly to the fuqara, the real, genuine, impoverished people around the world, give it by hand to them, or contribute it to another Islamic organization that maybe are distributing free Qur'ans or doing so much good Islamic work to actually pass the message of Islam to people, genuine message of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not a message of Mirza Ghulam stuck in there like a sandwich. Okay, these people they may have seen the falsehood of Ahmadiyya and they decide no. Many people I know who left Ahmadiyya, towards the end they stopped giving money because they realized that Ahmadiyya is wrong. They're not hypocrites. They ended up leaving. So they're not like, we are munafiqeen Muslim. No, they're good Muslims, but they realize that organization is not Islamic, so why should they give it money for? Again, this is a confidence trick. It's just to reassure the Ahmadis to say, look, see, that's the reason. People who don't want to give money, they start attacking our whole chanda system and this 10% scheme, minimum 10% scheme, just because they don't want to pay money. That's the most ridiculous thing on the planet. But it's, again, the Ahmadiyya organization that I've come across so many different, I've realized so many tactics that they use. They use like many ways. I call it a confidence trick overall. That's the umbrella. It's mainly a confidence trick. But under the umbrella comes many ways. How do you get people to have confidence in you? Just say things in certain ways. Say it in a persuasive manner. Give a false reason as to why someone did something. Like I said before about Mirza Ghulam and marrying Muhammadi Begum, saying that her father became atheist, that's why he said all these things. That's a lie. That's a false excuse that they gave just to give confidence, to act confidently and say, look, see, this is a persuasive reason why this such and such thing happened, or why Mirza Ghulam wrote this. But that's a confidence trick. They're lying to you and they say it persuasively so that you believe them. What do we do here at Islam After Ahmadiyya and many other people that we have seen do? MashaAllah, they do. What they do is they present the writings from Mirza Ghulam or from the Ahmadiyya organization, as in from his son or anything like that. Official Ahmadiyya publication. That's what we present. We don't say they. Ahmadi say this, Ahmadi say that, Ahmadi say that. We show you on screen what is said. And then if we give our own remarks, that's our own remarks. But we give you actual evidence so that you don't feel that we're lying to you, that we're deliberately trying to misguide you. We're not trying to. What are we getting? We don't have an organization. You're not going to join us. If you leave Ahmadiyya, you just become a Muslim. You can do whatever you want, but you're not with us. We're not a group. We're not a sect or anything. We're just a group, a gathering of regular people who we just happen to have met each other because we all happen to find out that Ahmadiyya is false and we happen to start speaking to each other. It's not a group, not an official sect or anything, as some really stupid Ahmadis have tried to say that and make out that we've got some kind of sect. This is very hideous. Now, next point. Okay, so the next one is why so stingy when it comes to Allah. The speaker, he says, the allegation that Jamaat Ahmadiyya is some sort of cult that forces people to pay money above and beyond zakat. And then he says, what is a cult? I don't think Jamaat Ahmadiyya fits that bill in any aspect, because if you think what happens when somebody leaves Jamaat Ahmadiyya, the first step is that the Jamaat stops taking money from the person, and that person is not eligible to give chanda anymore. Which cult do you know that would say we don't want your money? Now the funny thing is about this point that the speaker, it's such a funny point. If you've left Ahmadiyya, why are you going to keep paying money to them? Is the person retarded or something? If they declare that they do not believe in Ahmadiyya, why should they give the Ahmadiyya organization any more money? So you're saying Jamaat stops taking money from that person. Well, why should they give? Why should they even try to take money from the person if they've left Ahmadiyya? They don't believe in your group. Why would your organization try and take money, or why would the person who left give you money? It's a common sense. It's a simple thing right there. And then saying which cult do you know that would say we don't want your money? What kind of point is that anyway? That's not really evidence. And then he says that the second thing is that they don't get attacked. It's just that they're avoided. So the people who leave, they're not attacked, they're avoided. And the speaker says the first thing is, that's a natural reaction. If somebody in your family becomes a heroin addict, at some point, you have to avoid them until they reform themselves and come back. Now, how disgraceful are you, Muhammad Dar? How shameful of a human being you are for you to say such a thing. Throughout this whole video, I've tried to just say, you know what, maybe you don't know what you're saying or something. But this, you intentionally say this. How can you compare someone who leaves Ahmadiyya to someone who takes heroin? How can you say that? How dare you say that about people? The people who leave Ahmadiyya, such as myself and other people, do it because we found out that your Prophet used to take opium, which, just to let you know, heroin comes from that. So look at the irony, right? Your own Prophet used to take heroin, okay? Opium. How do you like that point? So you're given an example which is right up your alley. Your own Mirza Ghulam used to take opium. So well done, giving a very good example in your video. How dare you insult the people who leave Ahmadiyya and compare them to people who are heroin addicts? I don't even know why you brought this heroin addict thing into it. Is it because you were a heroin addict before or something? You used to take heroin? You said that, right? You don't need to accuse other people of such a filthy, or compare them to such a filthy thing. Ahmadiyya is a false version of Islam. It is not Islam. It's a false version. Mirza Ghulam hijacked Islam and added all his other rubbish onto it and said, here you go, this is true Islam, this is Ahmadiyya, take it. So people who leave your group, they are purified. If they leave your group and they're lucky enough, actually they're lucky enough to have joined Islam, because some people, because they are so confused spiritually and even logically, they're so confused because when they find out Mirza is a false claimant, they start applying the same sort of notion to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Astaghfirullah, that's so sad. It saddens all of us, because those people on many occasions become atheist, or sometimes they even become Christian, but they leave Islam, some of them. And alhamdulillah, the lucky ones, they become good Muslims. So this is all at the hand of your Mirza Ghulam. That's how much harm he has done to people. So there's no need to compare them to heroin addicts and then say at some point you have to avoid them until they reform themselves. My friend, you and your organization need to reform yourself. You need to read the pages that we show you of Mirza's books. Don't say I've read Mirza's books, because you clearly, Muhammad Dar, you have clearly not read all of Mirza's books and every page in them, so you shouldn't say such things. Even we who present you the evidence, we don't say we've read all the books we've read. That's just a confidence trick. We don't do that. We show you parts of Mirza's books that prove to you that this man is not from Allah. We don't say to you we've read all the books. That's a lie. Okay, you know yourself you haven't read all the books, because from what you're saying it shows you have not read all the books. And if you have read all the books and you're saying what you're saying, that means you're a straight up liar. Because you've read those things that we show and you're denying it, and you're telling your poor Ahmadi listeners another version so that you can con them and make them stay in Ahmadiyya longer. So anyway, I carry on to say, to mention what this Muhammad Dar says. He says, so same thing, the door is always open for people who leave the Jamaat, who reform themselves, and they come back and they're welcome. If somebody leaves your Jama'at because they read, why the hell are they going to come back to some false version of Islam? If you find real Islam, why are you going to come back to Ahmadiyya, the false version of Islam? Why? It's hideous points. The next point that the speaker says, but if they don't reform themselves, no sane person is going to allow such a person to be a part of that community and ruin things for other people or be a nuisance for other people. Now let's say something very straightforward here. And I'm talking only about the people who leave Ahmadiyya based on Mirza's writings, not because of any other reason. If they leave based on his writings, right? The reason your organization doesn't want these people to speak is because those people, such as myself, will tell all the Ahmadis that they meet about what they found in the Ahmadiyya books. Alright? We're going to show them, like I tried to show many people, the printouts, which many people refused to see it. They did not want to accept that this is written in Ahmadiyya books. Your organization wants to make sure that we do not speak to these people and show them all we're going to do. All we're doing, we are messengers. We are not saying, hey, leave Ahmadiyya and join Ahl Sunnah or Khatam Nubuwwah or anything, or become Shi'i or whatever, anything. We don't do that. We're just passing a message saying that this group is wrong. That's all we're saying. We're not telling you, let's tell you which group is correct. We're not telling you, we'll tell you the 14th century Mujaddid and all these silly things that the Ahmadis tried to come at us with. All we are presenting to you, and what we know with great evidence, is that Mirza Ghulam is a false claimant, with the evidence, with the publications, with the pages to show that this is not Islamic. His beliefs and his writings and his behavior was not behavior of a man of God. So we present this sort of stuff to people, make it clear to them. And it says, the speaker also said something. He said, saints and prophets used to turn their faces or their face away from people that were mischievous or not following the injunctions of Islam. Well, you can't give that example because Ahmadiyya is not Islam anyway. If Ahmadiyya was genuine Islam, we could say, alright, we can use that example. You're following Islam and they're being bad people. They're saying something bad about Ahmadiyya is not Islam anyway. The next one. An example of a Muslim becoming Christian. So as long as they're not going public and spreading that falsehood to a larger audience, in that case it's your duty to engage them in public the way the promised Messiah did. I mean, do I even need to really comment? I mean, if any listener who's heard the whole video will hear what I think of this of your promised Messiah and what did he do in public? What his insults, telling people haram zada, wald haram, wishing death on his enemies? What did he do? All Mirza Ghulam did in his books, all his books, the vast chunk of his books, right? You know what they do? He tries to prove that he's truthful. That's it. But what did he actually do for Islam? Nothing. Nothing. He did nothing for Islam. In fact, he's hindered it. Because the followers who follow his version of Islam when they leave, they end up becoming atheists, or at the very least they're confused. And it takes a couple of years of adjustment for some people when they leave Ahmadiyya to become normal Muslims, because they have to deprogram themselves from all the twisted, pretend fake Islamic stuff that Mirza tried to, or the organization indoctrinated them with when they were born into it. And then the speaker, Muhammad says, the Jama'ah spends money on the needy, no cult does that. My friend, if you're trying to con someone, you'd keep up appearances, alright? If you're trying to con someone, you'd give money to charity. What do some of the worst countries in the world do? For example, what does Israel do? The number one most criminal state on this planet is the state of Israel. Criminals who break international law. It's not just Muslims who tell you this. The people in the UN will tell you this, but they're afraid when they're voting, and obviously USA is always vetoing any action against Israel. People of heads of states of various South American countries will tell you the same thing. That many intelligent people, worldly people, will tell you the same thing. Okay, but what does Israel? Israel does charitable work as well. So you trying to say no cult will spend money? Well, I'm telling you, the most criminal state on the planet does charitable work as well. It doesn't mean that they're legitimate and they're good. So it doesn't mean Ahmadiyya is good just because they give some money to charity. It's the people's money they're giving anyway. It's not Mirza Masroor giving it from his own pocket. Now, so another thing that the speaker, Muhammad Darf, says that is very infuriating actually. He says, one thing that I see is the major difference between Ahmadi Muslims and other Muslims is this level of sacrifice that they do. So financially is just a small portion. I think that the bigger sacrifice that Jamaat makes is their time and their effort. Now, number one, Muhammad, you're doing the confidence trick as if you know everything about the other Muslims. What are you comparing? A handful of Muslims or Mulvis, if you call them that, or mullahs from Pakistan, from Asia? How do you know about the Muslims in the Arab countries? How do you know about all the other Muslims who are living in the Western countries? How do you know? Did you see how much money they give? Just because they're all divided into all these different sects, it doesn't mean that they don't give. How do you know how much they give? Some people, they give, like, you never know how much. They put so much money, they build a whole mosque from their own money. The whole mosque, they build it from that. This happens in so many countries. You get the big grand mosque and you get the smaller, humble, simple mosques. That all of that is still regarded, that it's got a high reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for these people. You don't know this. You're doing the same generalization that your cult does. Your Ahmadiyya cult, your missionaries, they tell you this stuff, and you come, you poor guy, you come, they put you on the TV screen and you make a fool of yourself like this while they get to just sit back and protect their image. You should not have said this sort of stuff in your video. You've really made a fool of yourself. How do you know what all the Muslims do? You can't keep saying they, them, they, we and them, we and them. You can't, because number one, the Muslims are different sects in tens and tens and tens of countries. Billions of Muslims. You don't know how much money they give. You can't say we give more than them. What? You compared a handful of people that you saw in your life and you said, oh, Ahmadis give more. Is that fair, Muhammad? Is that fair to judge the whole of Muslims, the whole Muslim Ummah, by a few people that you may have seen? And how old are you anyway? You're not that old that you've been around for 60, 70 years and you've been around the countries and you've toured and you've visited and lived in like 20 different countries. How do you qualify that statement, Muhammad? You cannot qualify it. So another thing that the speaker says, the interesting thing, which I found funny, was that in non-Ahmadi mosques, when you go there, sometimes the whole Friday sermon is about the electricity bill. Please give us money. And they have a cardboard box going around collecting money, and that looks so ridiculous. Muhammad Dar, you know what? You embarrass yourself by saying this. You make yourself seem very immature. You know, this is such a cheap shot. Alright? This is such a cheap shot at the other Muslims and the other mosques, and you're trying to tell your Ahmadi listeners that, oh, this is what happens in other mosques. It's so stupid. Number one thing, they don't have no one claiming to be a prophet, alright? They don't have anyone. And I'm not going to vouch for their honesty, and I'm not going to say they're dishonest either. But I'm going to just talk about what you said. Electricity bill, why not? Why not? A lot of the people who even give khutbahs, they have other jobs. They have family, they have wife, they have children. You can't expect them to give all the money. So they ask for donations. You have no proof that they're dishonest, so we shouldn't even speak about it. You've got zero proof that they're taking the money and put it in their pocket. You're just saying about that they take money for electricity bill. Now you're exaggerating to such a bad degree here, and your exaggeration is intended as an insult. Again, to the other Muslims, you're generalizing. Have you been to every single mosque in every single country? Have you even been to like 10 different countries with 10 different mosques in each of those countries? Okay, you can't generalize that. Even if you have done that, you cannot generalize. It means nothing. You can't generalize like that. We can talk about your organization because it's one organization. And your head is masroor. You're talking about the other Muslims that are different sects. Yes, they are divided into different sects. So you can't judge them all by a couple of examples that you've seen. We don't even judge Ahmadiyya by some Ahmadis. We've seen some rubbish, absolute rubbish Ahmadis, not Muslim, rubbish Ahmadis. They don't even know the basics of what Mirza Ghulam said. A lot of them didn't even know that Mirza came to be a prophet. So they are rubbish Ahmadis. We never even said that these guys are examples of them. We don't. We be fair. We say, okay, those ones are rubbish Ahmadis, but there are other Ahmadis who actually do know more. And we actually be honest. We say some Ahmadis, we believe that a lot of Ahmadis actually, they've got an honest heart, but they've been deceived their whole life. Ahmadiyya keeps the information away from them. This is another aspect of a cult. Information control. Listen to those words. Information control. Ahmadiyya organization makes sure that you don't go and you research for yourself and find out and read on your own. You can only read what they give you. Only read from our website. Only read what a murabbi gives you or a missionary gives you. Only listen to what Mirza Masroor says in his little lectures on Friday. Information control. Again, you mentioned yourself about the cutting off of people, right? You said that when people leave, we distance ourselves, we don't talk to them. That's relationship control. That's another aspect, the quality of a cult. You control the people's relationships so that the minute they leave, you cut them off. And what happens with many people who are married in Ahmadiyya? They end up, if the man leaves, most times the woman stays in Ahmadiyya and he gets a divorce. He's forced to divorce his wife, or she divorces him. That's relationship control, another aspect of a cult. And usually, almost every single cult has one leader, shot caller, one leader. That's Mirza Masroor, and all the previous leaders before him. And Mirza was at the head of it before as well. Okay, so these are little aspects of what a cult is, you know. And in terms of Islam, Ahmadiyya's cut itself off from the Muslims. You don't pray with them, no janazah with them, no marrying, unless they become Ahmadi. Oh, that's brilliant. Let them leave Islam first, and then you can marry them. Good idea. So the next point here, we've got prayer is the ultimate weapon of a true believer. The speaker, Muhammad Dari, says, if he was the promised Messiah, why was he going around cursing people in the sense of mubahala? And he says that this was an approach he took towards the worst of the worst. Examples, Lekram, Abdullah Atam, and Amr Sari, Sana'ullah Amr Sari. And again, the speaker says, Muhammad Dar says, when someone doesn't stop attacking Prophet Muhammad and doesn't stop attacking Islam and the Quran and practice of Prophet Muhammad and his life, then after arguments have been exhausted, then we call on God for help. In the case of Sana'ullah Amr Sari, he was attacking the promised Messiah and calling him a liar again and again. And then Muhammad Dar reads the verse from the Holy Quran regarding Mubahala, which you may see on screen. I might not put it on screen. It might not be relevant. Now, the fact here, the point to make about this is that Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ was sent as a mercy to mankind. He was not sent to curse. And in fact, he explained this. This point has been explained to the Muslims at the time. That Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, he has come as a mercy, not to curse, not to wish, to ask Allah to punish these people in this way, because he's sent as a mercy. Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ knew that people are going to object to the message of Islam. He knew that it's going to be very difficult, and the natural response of a lot of people was to object. But in the future they may become Muslims, so why curse on them for? Now Mirza Ghulam, he has no right to compare himself anyway, said Muhammad ﷺ. But I'm gonna just tell you one thing, which is if Mirza Ghulam's method of wishing, doing mubahalas and wishing death on people who simply say we don't believe in you or you're a liar, then how come Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ didn't do it every which way he went? Every which way he went. He could have done that. He could have said, made curses and insults and swear words like Mirza Ghulam did, like, well, haram zada, if you disagree with me, you're this and you're that. Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ never did this sort of thing, and that's why so many people to this day, throughout the centuries, have joined Islam. A big reason was because of Sayyidina Muhammad's character, because of his mercifulness, because of his big heart, massive, high level of patience. They said, wow, what an example of a man. When they read about his life, they say, what an example of a man. I really believe that Islam has got to be correct, because look at the example of this man. Now we show you Mirza Ghulam's writings. That shows you the example of that man, Mirza. That has sent many of us running away from Ahmadiyya, not wanting to join. This is a key point here. If the fact is as well here, you've got to be objective. You can't say that Mirza Ghulam is a prophet automatically and say, oh, Amr Sari was inciting promised Messiah. Well, you have to verify if Mirza Ghulam actually was a promised Messiah to begin with. Or you're always giving him and saying, oh, he's a promised Messiah, he was getting insulted. Let's find out first if he was even from Allah, and then you will actually find out that no, he wasn't from Allah. Then you won't even care that Amr Sari was was cursing him and insulting him. You don't even care because you say, okay, Mirza Ghulam was not from God anyway, so why am I arguing this point for? Amritsari was right to call him a liar. You know, the speaker concludes by saying, and this is so ironic, he says, don't just listen to something and believe it blindly, investigate. Ya Allah, I don't know what to say to this person. This again is a confidence trick. This is a confidence trick. Investigate. Your Ahmadiyya organization stops people from reading things on their own. Your Ahmadiyya organization says, come to us and we'll give you the explanation. The explanation is not what's written on the book, on the page that we show you. Like what you, Muhammad, or you yourself have done is in this video, and the listeners, the viewers can see, track back in the video and see how many times you've misquoted things to lie to the Ahmadis and give them the wrong picture. How many times you've done it and you're telling them to investigate when you're the one who's misguiding them. You're not showing the actual page on screen and telling them, yes, it says this and this and this on screen, and you're telling them to investigate. That's called lying. That's called lying, and that's being hypocritical to tell them to investigate. Ahmadar also says, don't take the word of any opponent. Obviously, they're going to tell you stuff that's not true. Well, what about the opponent? You call us opponents, and everyone who is like us an opponent. How about we were in your organization? We were in Ahmadiyya. You, Muhammad, you've made the worst mistake of your life by joining Ahmadiyya. Just you mark my words, and I hope inshallah one day you will realize it. I hope inshallah one day you will realize that you made the biggest mistake of your life joining Ahmadiyya. You have no idea what you're dealing with. These people, they are master fraudsters. Since the time of Mirza Ghulam, they have mastered an art, a sales package of Ahmadiyya to con people into joining them. They have mastered how to lie to you about so-called prophecies. They have, even you've mentioned things that I know that they tell you about the mubahalas, and they ignore stuff like that it was actual dua, which I read out. They ignore things like that. They don't give the details about the Muhammadi Begum prophecy and all this. They don't tell you these things. They've mastered a sales package that they believe works on people who don't really dig and investigate properly. So if you investigate, Muhammad, I'll give you your words back to you. You investigate properly. Look at the pages that we've given you. Look at the pages. We've put these pages on screen for all the viewers, inshallah, to show them that we don't lie about nothing. We don't have no money. No one's giving us money. No, we don't get nothing from this except for doing our duty to God, which is we found out that Ahmadiyya is wrong based on these writings. We have to convey this message to people. We are not scholars in Islam, we never claim to be. But we know something that is crucial. We know that Mirza was not true. He was not from Allah, based on Ahmadiyya official publications. So we present these publications to you. We are just messengers. Of course, our emotions come into our videos sometimes because we're so angry at what the Ahmadiyya organization does. We're so angry at, for example, what you've said in this video, Muhammad Dar, insulting other Muslims and making fun and laughing and comparing them to people who take heroin addicts. How dare you insult them like that? But what we do is, we don't say anything about Mirza unless it is actually documented. And that's what we're saying. We're telling you investigate, Muhammad Dar. You're telling your viewers to investigate. We're telling you to investigate, Muhammad Dar. We hope that this video has been very useful. This video, it takes a long time to make. It's not just the speaking time. There's a lot of editing, a lot of getting all the evidences, putting it together. Why are we doing all this? We're not getting no financial remuneration. We are only doing our duty to Allah. Once we have found out that this is false, we feel sorry for so many good, well-intentioned Ahmadis that we know. We've met these people when we were in Ahmadiyya. Many people, our colleagues, people who do the same work. We know so many people that are good-hearted, but they are just blinded. We were blinded when we were in it as well. We were blinded as well. That's how we believed in Ahmadiyya. We were blinded. We did not know the truth. We know the truth now. We know the truth. So please, listeners, investigate. And inshallah, we hope the video has been beneficial. And I hope many years from now, people will still be at least looking at the screenshots. Maybe you don't agree with what I say in terms of the way I say things, that's no problem. But look at this, look at the pages from Mirza Ghulam's writings, look at the pages from official Ahmadiyya publications that we present. And just tell us. come back and tell us, oh, no, you're lying about that page. Because we are not lying. And dear Ahmadis, who is bringing you the page? Who is bringing you Mirza's writings? We are bringing it. The Ahmadiyya organization, they glaze over it. They tell you, no, we'll explain to you what that is. That's an allegation, and basically they misunderstand in this way and that way and that way. And they don't show you the actual page. And if they show you the page, maybe you don't know Urdu, for example. I had to get professional Urdu translators to get this stuff translated. If you don't know Urdu, get a professional translator. Look and think, who is the truthful party or the truthful person? Your organization that doesn't show you the page and just tells you an excuse and uses a confidence trick to make you think that the other Muslims just hate you, or we're paid, or some mullahs give us the pages, or we get some money from Saudi Arabia or something. And then you look at us, we actually give you the page on screen from alislam.org, the Ahmadiyya official community website. So who is running and who's saying the truth? We are not running, we are saying the truth. Inshallah, the video has been beneficial, and I leave you with those words. This is Usama Sayyid from Islam After Ahmadiyya saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.